So this is why I call it a super civilization. They had this obsession with studying the solstice and the movements of the sun. The most interesting site is Karahan Tepe. This is before excavation began in 2019. This is what it looks like now. We go in there, we see this head, and there's a porthole stone. So the sun is coming through, illuminating that head. So over a 45-minute period, only on winter solstice morning, you get the whole alignment happening. We're like, what the hell is this? And we make a major discovery. These were supposed to be hunter-gatherers. These were supposed to be cavemen. I've been digging into this. This shows us this is a different world we're dealing with now. I've always thought the Olmecs were quite a lot older than they're telling us. And there's even been dating done on the pyramids on the Giza Plateau.
I want to know how the goddamn stones got there.
I mean, you're bringing up 70-ton blocks of granite, and then how'd you lift them up?
You've done a lot of work on giants, you were saying.
But we found out.
What's up, guys? Thank you so much, as always, for watching my channel. If you have not hit that subscribe button, can you please do me a huge favor and hit that right now? I appreciate everyone who's been watching these videos consistently. The #1 analytic we need to get these videos into the algorithm is you guys hitting the subscribe button, though. And when you do that, we get them in and we can continue getting great guests. So thank you to everyone who's already taken the time to do that. And thank you to all of you who are going to do so now. Enjoy the episode. We got a big PowerPoint sitting here in front of us. You look ready to roll, bro.
Got a lecture mode. That's what it is.
It's great. It's great to have you. I like someone who obviously is looking all over the map, because I took a look through this PowerPoint right before we got on, and there's basically nothing off limits today. So that's gonna be a lot of fun.
For sure.
Now, Hugh, for people who don't know you and have never seen your YouTube channel, you have Megalithomania on YouTube. You've had that for a long time. But yeah. How long have you been looking into ancient history itself?
My God. Since I was a kid, I've got to be honest with you, my mum was an avid traveler. I mean, she wasn't into like kind of dull family holiday. She wanted to go to like Knossos Temple in Crete or to the megaliths of Brittany or something like that. So we always did something interesting. I mean, at that time, I was like zero interest in it. I just wanted to play football and go to the beach and things like that. But then she subscribed to this magazine that stuck in my kind of consciousness called the Unexplained magazine. So this would have been in the 80s, you know, I'm that old kind of thing. And so that was like paranormal, but it also had ancient sites, mysteries, you know, obscure explorations and things like that. And that really got me into stuff. You know, as a kid, I kind of became this kind of slightly obsessive, kind of into the whatever mysteries there were at the time. So, and then I got into crop circles of all things.
Into crop circles?
Yeah, so, you know, if people aren't aware of what they are, they're like these imprints you get in the fields in Britain. But they've been around for
From the aliens, right?
Well, allegedly, yeah. But they've been around and recorded for hundreds of years. And then they started appearing in Britain in the 80s and 90s. And that kind of got me interested in sort of more unusual phenomena. But they were always near stone circles. And so they drew me into the world of like the megaliths and the area where these megaliths appear. And so it kind of something clicked inside me. I've got to study these big stones. What the hell are these? And so, yeah, so it opened up a whole world, you know, just having all this kind of being brought up with all these different elements.
Yeah, we actually, it's funny because you're referring to the homeland right there. We haven't talked a ton on the podcast with different guests I've had on about some of the history in Great Britain and the things that are found there. Like, I don't think we've ever talked about Stonehenge on here at all. That's something that I'm completely like not in the know about either. So this image we have right here, that's from your PowerPoint, right?
Yeah.
What are we looking at?
So this is basically the stone circle of Stonehenge. There's a bunch of us inside it, me flying my drone, obviously. Now, this is one of 1,000 stone circles in the British Isles.
1,000?
There's at least 1,000 have been recorded, but not as good as Stonehenge. Stonehenge is kind of unique. Most of them are kind of rough-hewn, just simple circles or certain geometries, whereas this is built shaped stones. It's got different stones, some from 20 miles away, the big sarsen stones you see there. There's smaller ones that are like 4 or 5 tons that come from Wales. These are the blue stones. They're a type of stone called spotted dolerite. And then there's even this whole story that's come out in the last year or so of one of the stones, the altar stone, which is the big central stone that would lay flat in the middle. came from Orkney or northern Scotland. And
How do we know that?
they've done all this analysis on the type of rock, and there's it's quite an interesting circle. I mean, you've got all these different elements coming in from Wales, from locally, from Scotland, all in one circle. So this is really the national temple of Britain, in my opinion. Now, I live next door to Stonehenge. That's one of my claims to fame. And this
Like
is
next door, like right off camera here?
just off camera. This is a bunch of my friends, all 30,000 of them. This is during the summer solstice a couple of years ago.
Wow, what a shot.
Yeah, so this is actually I live literally to the right of that, just down the road, about half a mile away. I live at number 1 Stonehenge Cottages. That's where I live.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
that's so cool. On brand,
And
too.
the other thing is, I live closer to Stonehenge than Sting does. He lives just down the road from me. But
You ever like go riff with him a little bit?
we bumped into him in a supermarket once, but that was about it. Yeah. But I think he's moved now anyway.
You kind of got a Sting look to you.
I've got, well, that's a compliment and a half.
A little
Thank
bit,
you.
yeah.
But yeah, so this still happens. You have this giant solstice event takes place. This one, I think 30,000 people turned up this year. This is how insane it is. I mean, it's not a huge stone circle, and so it just shows you that there's something still sort of powerful about these sites that people
Magnificent.
that people want to kind of connect to. They want to kind of feel like their ancestors were involved in this kind of thing. And these are really the only remnants of anything that's that old, like 4,000 or 5,000 years old. And the other thing about this is that there's a landscape here. It's not just one circle. There's avenues. It's hidden by the mist here, but there's earthen avenues. There's even Mesolithic stuff going on. It goes back 10,000 years.
Mesolithic. Can you explain that?
Yeah, so we can get into that a little bit.
Please.
This is what's so interesting about this particular site. So Mesolithic is like anything. It's like the pre-pottery Neolithic of Turkey. It's like the Mesolithic of Britain or Europe is about roughly 10,000 or something like 8,000 to 12,000 years old. And there's a whole bunch of sites that are coming out of the ground all across Britain now that have this kind of extreme age associated with them. So we've got Stonehenge here. This just shows you some of the geometry and alignments here. But what is really interesting about this is that they found these post holes. If you look on the right, you got these.
Yeah, looks like a driver's course.
Yeah, on the right you got blobs of paint in a car park. This was several years ago. They've now removed the car park, and this is what it would look like. So there's these giant pine posts, 30 foot tall, potentially.
That was there?
That was there before Stonehenge.
Whoa.
We're talking 5,000 years before Stonehenge. So these giant pine posts could have been totem poles. They could have had carvings on them.
How tall?
Like they because of the width and the depth, they estimate they could have been up to 30 feet tall. So they're pretty beastly, yeah. And but the thing is, they were placed there 5,000 years before any stones were built there, which is really odd. I mean, so there was something going on here. And there's a site locally called Blick Mead, which is the other side of where I live, and it's like a natural spring. And they found evidence of continuous occupation going back at least 10,000 years, up until the present day, virtually. And I was just with the archaeologist, Dr. David Jux, or Professor David Jux. He spoke at a conference in England as well. And they found evidence now going back 12,000 years in the vicinity of Stonehenge. So this puts it in the realm of what we're finding in southeast Turkey.
Yeah, which we're going to talk all about today.
Yeah.
They've done a lot of work there. But when you talk about the evidence that they found here to be able to date that, how is that like carbon dating rock? Like what are they doing to be able to get that number?
Well, at the bottom of these sort of 3 or potentially 5 pits where these pine posts would be in, they found kind of burnt wood basically at the bottom of them, or calcified wood or something like this, and they managed to date them to roughly 10,000 years old, just over actually. And so they did that. But then the other thing about this, which completely blows my mind, if we look at this next image here, there's quite a lot going on here. But so you got the stone circle at the bottom there, and they found within where the stone circle was later built, they found this mound in the position where it should be, and then just nearby they found the post holes within 50 yards of this spot. And then you see the avenue going down there diagonally. That's the summer solstice sunrise alignment avenue. That's what.
What does that mean?
That's been carved out of the ground, like the earth, to mark the orientation. So the sun rises towards the end of the avenue, and then it goes off in different directions. But they found these 10,000-year-old or older parallel ridges called periglacial strips or stripes along there, which are natural features. So it suggests, I mean, from this image, and we've worked this all out, and the archaeologists now agree to this, that there was a solstice alignment here, not 5,000 years ago, the famous one, summer solstice, but 10,000 years ago, from the mound within where Stonehenge is now, along these natural hollows, these ridges, which naturally formed this weirdly perfect alignment to the summer solstice sunrise.
Yeah.
And the opposite direction, it's the winter solstice sunset.
Be a hell of a coincidence.
It's insane. I mean, so they probably found these ridges originally and thought, hang on a sec, these actually align to where the sun extreme points occur.
Okay, I have so many questions here, but let's start with the actual, what do you call it again? The columns? The
giant wooden post, yeah.
The posts. What kind of weight are we dealing with there?
Oh,
you said it's about 30 feet tall.
If you imagine that, it's got to be a couple of tons, 2 or 3 tons at least. I mean, maybe more, thinking about it, yeah. I mean,
so who could have, do we have any legitimate theories on how they got there and who put them there?
There's not much going on with that. I mean, it was pretty much forested Britain back then, the whole place. I mean, this area in Wiltshire, you've got like a lot of chalk, so you get less trees back then. But yeah, I mean, they were moving stuff about back then. I mean, they were building mounds. They had a whole kind of network across Britain even at this time. And Blickmead, which is just down the road from here, where this spring is, which we've had a look at ourselves, there's nothing to see there now really, is where everyone would kind of live and hang out and do ceremonies and things like that. But then there was this area a mile or so away at the location of where Stonehenge is now, right next to these posts. So it's kind of strange. Why would they mark that spot? And then we realized, a lot of people have kind of come to this conclusion, is that there must have been something significant about this location. And it may have been these periglacial strips. They may have noted, and then they may have built a mound, and then marked this alignment of the sun, where the sun's most extreme point is on the the southern point of the horizon to the southeast. You have the winter solstice. To the northeast, you have the summer solstice, where them ridges are. So it's kind of bizarre. So there's potentially a super ancient solstice alignment, a Stonehenge, thousands of years before the stones got put in place, which is pretty epic in my opinion.
It seems like we are finding all over the world now in all different environments. If you want to go all the way to South America, of course, we'll talk about Egypt today as well. All your work you've done in Turkey is certainly relevant here, and now talking about Great Britain. It sounds like everything that we have at least assumed as truth about, the nature of how far back our species goes on this earth is now being consistently proven to not be the case.
That's true, yeah. In virtually, almost everywhere this is starting to happen now.
Yeah.
I think Göbekli Tepe and Karahan Tepe, the whole southeast Turkey connection, I think that is changed everything.
Yeah.
Because that is carbon dated. That we're talking German archaeologists, very, very serious. They know what they're doing. They carbon dated those sites to 9,600 BC. Mm-hmm. Some of them are even older. Some go back into the Ice Age.
Before Younger Dryas, right?
Before the Younger Dryas, yeah. So you have sites like, in the area, like Çakmak Tepe and a few others we can get into in a little while, that are older. So this whole thing there has now clicked this kind of brain stem in the whole of academia, that everything potentially could be a little bit older than what people are thinking, because carbon dating isn't an exact science. There are issues with it. It produces a range of dates. It doesn't produce the exact date.
Picture your go-to white dress shirt. The one you wish you could wear all week because it always looks sharp and it actually feels good. That's Mizzen in Maine. Their shirts stay crisp, stay comfortable, and somehow stay clean way longer than they should. And if you're not familiar with Mizzen in Maine or haven't heard me speak about them before, they make classic menswear with performance fabrics, so it's effortless for you to look sharp and feel great. Mizzen in Maine actually invented the performance fabric dress shirt over 10 years ago, and since then they've perfected it with modern fabrics. Their shirts and pants look refined, yet they're stretchy, lightweight, moisture wicking, wrinkle resistant, and completely machine washable. No ironing or dry cleaning. You know I love that. When you put their clothes on, you'll feel the difference instantly. It's a professional style that's actually comfortable whether you're in the office, on the road, or even out on the golf course. And another thing I really love about Mizzen & Main is it is a veteran-led organization. So they're committed to supporting those who served. Therefore, they offer a year-round military discount and proudly give back to veteran organizations. And even if you're not in the military, thousands of guys out there are swearing by Mizzen & Main because they want to look great without the hassle. Right now, Mizzen & Main is offering our listeners 20% off your first purchase at mizzenandmain.com, link in my description below, promo code Julian20. That's Mizzen spelled M-I-Z-Z-E-N and Main, M-A-I-N.com, link in my description below, promo code Julian20 for 20% off your order. mizzenandmain.com, promo code Julian20. You can also find Mizzen & Main stores in select states, but please use our link so you can support the show. Thank you. How wide can that range get?
They can go 1,000 years. Go 1,000 years or more or less, depending how far back you go.
However, if you dated something, for example, carbon dated at, I'm just going to make a number up, roughly 15,000 years, and your margin of error is roughly 1,000, I mean, something like that would definitively prove that you had some sort of civilization pre-Younger Dryas, for example.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think what they do is, I mean, I'm no archaeologist or anything, but I think what they do is they get as many samples as possible and they correlate them, and then they kind of bring the kind of range down and keep it tight. And I think this is what they've done here. Also at Stonehenge. And now, I mean, brand new research. I mean, literally it hasn't been published yet, from Professor David Jacks, who works at Blickmead. He's also worked at the Mesolithic area of Stonehenge, the earlier phase. They've now found a site near Blickmead, near Stonehenge, near where I live, just literally down the road from where I live, that is now, and they found actual artifacts that are at least 12,000 years old. There's potentially, it could be older. They're thinking they might even be 14,000 years old. And so this is evidence of occupation at that time. So that was in the Ice Age. Yeah. I mean, in Britain, it would have been much rougher than other parts of the world. But it was still, there's still stuff going on then. People were surviving then. So you have to kind of consider that. And so that's now pushing the dates. But I mean, this could also change the date of the megaliths of Stonehenge eventually. There could be new dating techniques that come out.
Really? That
could actually, the stones and the placement of them could now be pushed back even further, which I think is highly likely to happen. I think it's going to happen in a few places.
So, but they've all, because obviously we've known about that for a long time now, and they've been examined over and over again. But just because we found something new that could completely, are you saying it could completely change the methodology with which they do carbon dating, or am I missing the boat there?
I think it's just a case of reanalyzing partly what they found already previously, having another look at it and checking it.
Okay.
And there's always stuff being discovered. I mean, just the fact that this new discovery has just happened like weeks ago, in right near Stonehenge. Hasn't even been published. I don't even know if I'm supposed to mention it, but he announced it at our conference in November this year, and also the paper's not going to come out for another year probably. So it's not going to be announced then. So it's all up in the air.
Who's involved with the paper?
So I think this is the University of Buckinghamshire. This is where Professor David Jacks works. So this is proper academic.
Yeah, sounds smart.
Yeah,
Buckinghamshire.
They know what they're doing. Yeah.
First class.
First class. Yeah, first class archaeologist. And so this is all happening. So but this could open up the floodgates, because new data could, old data, old artifacts, could be reanalyzed and checked again, because sometimes you find these anomalous dates as well. Like
anomalous dates?
Yeah, like sometimes you might get, like for instance, when I was researching the sites in Mexico, like the Olmecs sites, it's an example. Yeah. They found at San Lorenzo, which is the oldest Olmec site that goes back to 1600 BC or thereabouts, but they found some evidence that went back to 3000 or 3600 BC, but they put it aside as some kind of anomaly.
Don't worry about it.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't fit in with what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So they ignore it and it gets pushed aside. So that's one example. That really kind of stuck in my mind, that one, because I've always thought the Olmecs are quite a lot older than they're telling us. And so the same principle, the same discoveries and the same reanalysis is going to be done, hopefully, at some of these other places. Even Stonehenge, even the stuff in Turkey could be even older than what it is. And there's even been dating done on the pyramids on the Giza Plateau that are pushing the dates back at least a few hundred years earlier. But a lot of people believe they're much, much older as well.
Yeah, I want to talk about that later with the whole new finding and everything. Michael Button, I was telling you before we got on air, he was just here, and we didn't get to that, I think, until the very end of that podcast. So I really want to dig into that more because I'm behind on some of that stuff. But, the Olmec thing is one of those ones that I can't believe how overlooked that continues to be.
I know.
My buddy Luke Caverns has been looking at that for years, and is obsessed with it. And it's I mean, those things are enormous too, and they're so fascinating looking.
They are pretty
there
much.
you go.
They are pretty much the best. It is such a fascinating culture. I mean, Luke's into it. We've been, myself and my partner JJ Ainsworth, we've been into it for over a decade.
Wow.
I've been traveling there since 2003. Spent 2 years of my life in Mexico. Just mainly in Olmec land.
Make friends with the cartels.
Funnily enough, right?
That's not a good answer.
No, funnily enough, we have bumped into the cartel on more than one occasion, and I've got a story I can tell you.
Please, that's why you're here.
Because I've been watching your podcast. You have this woman who comes on who talks about the cartels. And
Katerina.
I've been following all of her. I've listened to all of them.
She's unreal,
and it correlates with our experiences there as well, which is really interesting. So I'm fascinated. So that's what kind of drew me into your podcast more than anything was the cartel stuff. Because we spent so much time in Mexico, and we were there this February for a month because we wanted to go explore in Olmec land. And so check this out. So in February, it was all happening with Trump.
Yep.
Mr. Donald Trump. I'm sure you've heard of him.
That's the one.
Yeah. And he was putting out this thing where he wants to kind of stop the border letting people through the border. And it was all happening in, I think, February when we were there. And so there was all this chatter. And now someone who JJ knows quite well is also a hacker who goes in the dark web and checks out what's going on, checks out where we're traveling to make sure we're safe on our behalf kind of thing. And there was all this chatter that American tourists, JJ's American, were going to be attacked and kidnapped and possibly murdered if, they went through with this Trump's thing of like stopping people going through the border and things like this. And it was the retaliation set up by the cartel to kind of push Trump to change his whole philosophy of what he was doing with the border. And so we heard about this through the dark web. It got back to us just as we were in Mexico, going through in a whole of Veracruz and like Villahermosa, Tabasco State. They're cartel territory, big time now, especially Villahermosa. I'll tell you about that in a minute. We actually bumped into one of these bosses. It's quite bizarre.
Oh, the bosses. You got to the top.
One of them, yeah. And then, so we were, we get stopped a few times in Mexico. There's cartel stops, there's police stops. They're quite different, but they generally let you through. So we were hoping we wouldn't get stopped after we heard that. So we laid low for a bit when we were traveling through Mexico, and we ended up getting into the area of Villahermosa. And then my friend sent me this article about what's been happening there with the cartel. They've kind of moved into that area big time because it's a trade route, if you want to call it that.
Yeah. Listen, they got to trade too.
They got to trade, and then we heard again through the dark web through one of JJ's friends that there was a big cartel meeting in Villahermosa the day we were arriving there. So we were like, oh great! So everyone's on high alert. And you don't go out at night in Villahermosa anymore. There's been all these, stringing people up on the way into town.
Very reassuring.
Beheadings, all that kind of thing. So we were like, oh Christ, okay, all this just to go and look at some Olmec heads, and we thought, okay, but we're going to do it. So we turn up in Villahermosa. I booked this. We've been staying in the roughest places, middle of nowhere. So we found this one really nice hacienda-style hotel. I thought, I'm just going to stay there. I need a break. I need just to have a couple of nights somewhere a little bit luxurious. So we turn up. That happens to be where one of the meetings is taking place.
You're like there for the Mexican Appalachian Conference. You're like, fuck.
Yeah. And so we turn up there, and we just sort of notice all these quite large guys with kind of, you know, guns basically,
right,
just hanging around, and we're like, oh Christ. So I end up staying there. JJ and Adora, her daughter, who was with us, no, they went to stay. They knew what was going on. They stayed somewhere else, just around because I didn't want to, you know, any trouble.
You like the action,
and I'm like, look, I need some luxury. I'm spending a couple of nights here, whatever happens. So next thing we know, we go to we go out, we come back, we pull up with our car, and in reception, people are coming out. There's this clearly some boss dude, which JJ recognized as one of the Sinaloa cartel kind of people, with all these entourage, and he's giving tips like this thick to like the porters and the drivers and things like this. And we're like, whoa, you know, she's about to get out and take a photo of him. And I said, don't do that, please. And then we park in the car underneath, and one of the guys kind of is walking up to me with his jacket waving open with this Uzi in his pocket or whatever it is. I don't know what it is. And he said, oh, how's it going? He spoke English. I said, I'm fine. How are you? Yeah. And it was all okay in the end. But so this is what happens. I mean, it's Villa Hermosa, where it's one of the sort of central areas of the
You're like,
Olmecs.
we're just here for the Olmecs.
We're here for the Olmecs. And
not
like
our own heads.
And so it turned out it's quite a drama. You got to be a little bit careful. But luckily they didn't end up targeting tourists or Americans. So we got through the whole thing.
That would have gotten you some more subscriber stuff. If you'd been like, you're down there with the Olmecs and you're like, yo, I got taken hostage by the cartel. I mean, you'd have to live. But if you died, it'd be a great story too.
Yeah,
not gonna lie.
Yeah,
I'd be very sad, but you know.
Yeah, that would be a great story. Okay. And actually, so one of the sites, this is actually one of the sites near there. This is the nearest site to Villa Hermosa. This is La Venta. I mean, Luke's spoken about this before, I'm sure. You got these beautiful things like the kind of Quetzalcoatl figure holding the bag. And
how big is that?
That's about 4 feet tall.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's some, you talk about Egypt. This is actually quite intriguing. You have this in Egypt.
Sorry, real fast, Hugh. Yeah. That last one we were looking at, it's there again, but with Quetzalcoatl.
Yeah.
So there's a serpent. There's no eagle in this one?
That one's got it's like a plume serpent. So it's coming off the head, like feathers, plumes, abstract form, surrounding this gentleman, who whatever he's doing, holding this bag. He's got some kind of headgear on. Almost looks like a nose thing he's wearing.
Right.
For oxygen, some ancient astronaut theorists have said. But the symbolism here is something that JJ kind of focuses on. It's her speciality, actually. And she's actually found correlations. This is actually her graphic around the world with the same kind of symbolism. And especially the one in Egypt.
Wait, this is Egypt, Greece, South America? Where else?
And then you got one over there. Yeah, I think that's Greece. Yeah.
Wow.
And it's bizarre. It's bizarre when you start looking at all this, to be honest with you. I mean,
it's almost like they knew each other.
They almost seems like they did. I mean, the connections with Olmec land and other areas is really interesting. I know other people have talked about that over the years, but I find that intriguing. You know, there's one site I managed to get to though, which you've also got this as well. This is the strange new statue that was discovered.
Is that you next to it?
Yeah, it's just me next to it.
Like you just mean mugging.
Yeah.
Is that how you looked at the cartels too? It's like, come and get it.
I smiled.
That's right.
But
they probably saw your ice and they're like, that's a nicer grill than we got right there.
Yeah, right. They're probably a bit scared.
They're like, don't fuck with this guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's probably the head of the whole goddamn thing.
The Stonehenge Cartel. Yeah. So this is this weird new fertility statue they found.
Fertility statue,
which I think is interesting. This is not many people know about this.
Oh, is that a labia right there?
Well, we think so. Yeah. I mean, this is 3 feet wide, maybe 4 feet, something like that.
Yeah, there's the clitoris. Yeah.
It's odd. I mean, that is one weird ass statue. I've got to be honest with you. And but this is unique. This was only found a few months ago. So there's stuff being found now in Olmec land.
How big is this?
About 3 feet wide.
Oh, we got to get Stu Finer in here. He's gonna have a fucking field day.
Yeah, you can see the scale of it there with some other stones in it.
Yeah, wow.
But while I was out there, if we want to stay on the theme of Olmec land,
of course, I love the Olmecs.
For a little while, we met up with Alfredo Delgado, this gentleman here. He's the head of Jalapa Museum, where many of the artifacts is in Veracruz area. That's JJ and myself, and we met up with him, and we kind of persuaded him to take us to the Olmec quarry, which no one I know has been to, and it's called Lano de Jicaro.
What's it called?
Lano de Jicaro.
Lano de Jicaro.
I may be pronouncing that very badly, but this is, I've known about this for a long time. This is where the Tuxtla Mountains, where all the basalt comes from in Olmec land. So we persuaded him, even though he doesn't speak English, we don't really speak that much Spanish. We worked it out and we met up with him in Acuyocan, which is in between Veracruz and Villahermosa. It's where a lot of the sites are. And we went there and we couldn't quite believe it. He took us there. This is one of the statues just lying around. You can see this sort of carving human figure going down the side. You got what?
Wait, where's the? Sorry, I didn't see that.
If you look down the side, you can just about make out the legs.
Oh, is
and the
she
arms.
laying?
Yeah, it's kind of like, I think it's laying down or something like
Right.
that. It's only half carved out, you see, because it's still being quarried. And I'm fascinated by quarries because to me these are sacred areas. These are what are known as the birthplace of the temple, and a lot of traditions around the world leave big stones in the quarry as a marker, like a kind of axis mundi of where the stones came from. You get that in Easter Island. You have the giant moai, half, cut out of the quarry. You have that even at Göbekli Tepe, there's stones left in the quarry. You get it in Aswan, Egypt, and so forth. And we have, stones like this just lying around. These have got carvings all over them. But what really, and the main reason I wanted to go there, because Alfredo had let on that there was an Olmec head still in the quarry.
That people don't know about.
And we were like, what? And and he put it out there a while ago, but no one's really that interested. And so we found it, and he showed us it. But the problem is, they haven't carved it out yet properly. So all you got is this. So this, but he said
that's the head?
This is the beginning of an Olmec head. Half of it's still buried in the ground.
Alfredo, I don't know about that one. That's the first one you're showing me.
But it's got ears going down the side.
Wait, where's the ears?
You get down the side, actually. I did a scan of it, so you can actually have a look.
So is he saying...
This is the beginnings of an Olmec head.
They laid the foundation, but they didn't draw,
Yeah, it was just the starting to shape it out. Some of it's still in the ground. It's like a couple of feet going into the ground as well.
What would they use to carve these?
Well, they weren't using metal. We know that. So they would have had to have used slightly harder stones. There may be some basalt. We know that they were using obsidian in this area for the fine stone work. But there's a big mystery because they were lugging, 40-ton stones across the swamps, across rivers, across mountains.
Allegedly.
And we don't know how they did it. I mean, this is what's so bizarre.
This is where my head does. It just does. It goes to aliens and giants. It's like... Luke Caverns and I have watched you seen those AI videos that show how it all happened?
Oh.
With the big giants just like carrying the stones
giants,
to the pyramids. It's like
very
believable.
I'm into giants. I mean, big time. I've written,
we'll talk about that.
Yeah,
today.
I've written a couple of books about them actually.
Okay.
But this is the biggest Olmec head.
Yeah, look at how fucking big.
This is the biggest.
How much does that weigh?
This is Lacobata. They say it's 40 tons.
Yeah. A couple dudes moved that on a Tuesday.
Yeah, but that's the biggest one. It's actually on display in Santiago Tuxtla. You can actually go there, check it out. And there's a little museum next door as well.
How much? So when they were carving this with the alleged tools that they did, how do we know how long that might have taken? Is there any way to know that?
I don't know. I mean, they did some experiments, right? There was this hilarious BBC documentary.
Hilarious.
Yeah, because they failed so miserably. It was all these academics, these archaeologists, these professors turned up in Olmec land and said, "Yeah, we can do what we can do what they did. We can move the stones. We can carve the stones. No problem. We're academics. We know exactly what we're doing." I think it was called Horizon, the documentary. You can find it online on YouTube, I think. And so they went there. They actually did that, and they couldn't move one stone, which they only chose one which was about 8 tons, and they couldn't move it. They were using all these different techniques that they think they would have used. They could move it only about 50 feet in the swamp. And then they had another guy who was an expert academic stone carver tried to carve with the tools they had the basalt into a stone head or face. Couldn't do that either, and both of these people quit during the program because they couldn't do it. And that really, I thought that was hilarious, because this Horizon program it was the science program of the BBC in Britain. They're the ones who tried to destroy Graham Hancock when back in the 1990s, when his documentary came out. And so it was the same program, and it was so funny for all us alternative researchers to see that, because they just completely failed. They couldn't work out how the Olmecs did anything.
Did you know that there's an online cannabis company that ships federally legal THC right to your door? And that this company has found a way to combine THC with carefully selected functional ingredients to create gummies, baked goods, and flour for whatever type of buzz you'd want? Well, the company I'm talking about is mood.com and their incredible line of cannabis gummies. And you can get 20% off your first order at mood.com using promo code Julian today. Forget one-size-fits-all supplements that only get you high. Mood's functional gummies are optimized to kick in as little as 15 minutes and take you directly to the mood you're looking for. You've heard me talk a bunch about their Mind Magic gummies. These help me focus on deep work and give me enhanced creativity. And then, of course, there's their Sexual Euphoria gummies, which turn every touch into a full-body experience. Beyond gummies, Mood also has a selection of flour, pre-rolls, bakery treats, and beverages. Listen, you can find gummies to just get you high pretty much anywhere these days. But Mood's functional gummies combine premium, federally legal THC with targeted botanicals to help you get into the perfect mood, usually in as little as 15 minutes. And everything ships discreetly right to your door. No dispensary lines, no awkward conversations, just better days and nights delivered to your doorstep. Best of all, not only is every Mood product backed by a 100-day satisfaction guarantee, but as I mentioned, our listeners are going to get 20% off their first order using code Julian. So head on over to mood.com, link in my description below, find the functional gummy that matches exactly what you're looking for, and let Mood help you discover your perfect mood. Once again, don't forget to use promo code Julian when you check out to save 20% off your first order. Try it today at mood.com. What do you think? I mean, I ask every guy who comes in who works on this stuff about this, what do you think it is that even today, after really decades at this point of different people, be it a Graham Hancock or other people from the outside being able to come in and make their own assessments on different pieces of history around the world. What do you think it is about the fact that it seems like so much of academia is still la, 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 we don't want to know, stay out of our ivory tower with this, when, we do have resources now to where people can look into this stuff. You can't just stop them from doing it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I mean, this goes back again, to the 90s with Graham Hancock and his book Fingerprints of the Gods, and this documentary. He did a whole documentary for Channel 4.
Keep that mic close, by the way.
Oh yeah. He had the whole documentary produced for Channel 4, and it was a big deal. It was called Quest for the Lost Civilization, and he got completely destroyed by this British kind of science program on TV. They ridiculed him, put it out on the BBC, and then there were so many mistakes in it in the program trying to debunk him. They had to. He took them to court, sued them, and they had to do a formal apology on TV to say, no, we were wrong, actually.
That's
Graham.
gangster.
And so that was it's proper gangster. He's a proper gangster. Is Hancock, I tell you that. He's but that was then. This is now, and it's still the same. We still have the same issues. You got the whole Flint Dibble Hancock debate. You got. I've been attacked personally, by all these different skeptics and academics, and it's still happening today. There's all this kind of back and forth. I mean, this is one of the reasons we set up our Megalithomania conference, was to create a stage, where academics and alternative researchers could be on the same stage and share and have respect for one another. And we stick to that now. We have top archaeologists coming to our conference and real kind of out there alternative stuff as well.
Have you had trouble getting academic people to participate in that?
This is interesting, right? So the way we worked that is that we got one or two of them involved, and they all know each other in England, and so they enjoyed themselves so much. Everyone respected them at our conference, even though we do it in Glastonbury, which is kind of hippie town of Britain.
Dave knows about
he's
that.
been there.
Yeah.
He's been there. Yeah, and so
Might be where we're going this afternoon. You never know.
And so this is. This is why we set this up, really, to kind of bridge that. But no, we get them coming in regularly now, and there's a real nice vibe, and we kind of created that, and we wanted that to kind of push forward. But it almost feels like it's got worse in the online world, especially where people are battling with one another. But what I have learned, and this is from an archaeologist in training, someone who actually comes to our conference, she's like this young lady in her 20s. She's being taught archaeology properly, and she is actually being taught now, and she couldn't quite believe this. This is happening just now. It's just started, that there's an acceptance of alternative views in the archaeological training.
Wow, that's new.
Yeah, this. I was like, what, really? And she said, yeah, this is what I'm.
Great.
Literally, I was at a class last week. You know, we were like hanging out. We were chatting after our conference, and it was like, this is really happening. But this is too late for like what's happening in Turkey. I could tell you all the hoo-ha we get in Turkey.
That is, but I do want to point out, that's a great thing to hear. I haven't heard something like that really at all. So the fact that it's having some sort of tangible effect where they're like, well, you know what? We've been presented with some data. We actually do have to look at it, and they're teaching in an academic environment. Credit where it's due. That's great.
Yeah, this is it, because a lot of discoveries are being made by non-academics. This is what's happening. So this is people like me, it's people like Graham Hancock. He's a non-academic technically. He's trained as a journalist. I've done journalism course as well, like a university. So we're in the same kind of boat. But it's slowly changing, but it's going to take probably decades for it to manifest in the real world.
Sure.
You know, and you can see what's happening just on the Twitter sphere. Everyone's attacking each other. It's kind of sad, to be honest with you, but it does happen.
Twitter is, and this goes for absolutely anything, it's just bad for people. You know, like I'm on it, but I don't talk a lot on there because it's just like people I watch people all the time go down these slippery slopes where they just get harder and harder and harder, like from a hard-o perspective, from behind the keyboard, and it just divides. Like I think it really sets us back, unfortunately, with how we have any discussions, be it political, be it archaeological, you insert it here. There's people fight on the NBA over there like it's fucking World War V. I know. It's crazy.
I know, it's crazy. Yeah, I mean, it's happening in Turkey as well. There's a
Turkish Twitter.
Well, this is, you could say that it's actually the top archaeologist Lee Clare,
he sounds Turkish.
Yeah, he's English, but he works. But he's,
that was a joke, Hugh. Sorry.
Thank you. And but Lee Clare, he works in Turkey. He speaks Turkish for the German Archaeological Institute and Istanbul University. He's the head kind of guy at Göbeklitepe, and he absolutely hates me, and he hates my colleague, friend Andrew Collins, and JJ as well a little bit. And because we keep going there and making little discoveries and writing books about it, and he thinks we're complete pseudo-science, completely out there, and we're actually quite sensible, you know, when it comes, if you compare us to some other people.
Yeah, you seem like a straight shooter.
Yeah, thanks, I think. Yeah.
Hey guys, if you haven't already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. It's a huge, huge help. Thank you.
So even there, there's issues, and obviously you got the Zahi Hawass thing going on in Egypt.
How about that?
Yeah, which is even funnier. But you know, so that you have to kind of deal with this as you go along. And to be honest with you, being a non-academic is a real treat, because we can do what we want. We can go anywhere we want. We can explore. We can kind of go to these sites, investigate them, make videos, write about them without any kind of bias. We don't have to kind of stick to a paradigm that is enclosed within the academic world.
Yes.
We can just go in there and, you know, speculate a little bit, but sensibly, I hope, about what's going on. And interpret as well. I think this is a lot of the issues we're finding in the ancient world are the fact that interpretations are a little bit misguided when it comes to, especially in Turkey, in my opinion. But archaeologists aren't necessarily trained to interpret and analyze the data they're uncovering.
What do you mean?
Well, it's more like they are focused on professionally getting the sites out of the ground, preserving them, dating them, and things like this. When it comes to interpretation, that's when you need a multidisciplinary approach. You need multiple different people coming in to have a look. So this is an issue everywhere. It's not just Turkey. It's been going on like this for a long time. So they put out their own interpretations, but they're limited and focused on what's coming out the ground, rather than perhaps looking at the sky looking at what the stars and the sun were doing in prehistory, looking at the shamanic elements of how these people lived, stuff that isn't visible in the archaeological kind of findings, but is, if you know how to look, you can decode the symbolism and work out this means stuff that was going on in the sky. This means they were shamans. This means they were into animism or things like this. And I think this is where one of the issues, I think Graham Hancock's brought this up as well. You need to get experts in from different skill sets to come and look at these sites. But the archaeologists don't necessarily allow that. And so hopefully that, as my friend who's being trained as an archaeologist, hopefully that might be changing by the sounds of it.
How does this process work, though? So if a new area is discovered in Turkey, because we're discovering stuff all the time there, and it's discovered by someone who's not an archaeologist, obviously it's within the bounds of Turkey, so the Turkish government gets involved. And then is it a situation as simple as they go, okay, you found something, now we have to bring in archaeologists, and archaeologists kind of create a caution tape around the area, and therefore all these other types of people that could come in and help them better do their job don't have the opportunity to?
Yeah, in some respects. One of the, I mean, I can give you an example.
Please.
There's a site in, I can actually show you an image of it here if I can find it. There's a site in Turkey. It's one of the Tepe sites, which we can get into obviously shortly. It's called Ayanlar Höyük. Now we went there. Let me just find this image for you if I've actually got it somewhere. We went to this site. This is one of the 12 Tepe sites, which is on the verge of being excavated. They've just literally started doing it recently. And here, finally found the image. So this is it here.
Okay.
So this is, I've only got a couple of images here, but this is really interesting. This is a huge site. If you look on the bottom right, there's the map. There's all these mounds, which are each going to have multiple enclosures within them, like we get at Göbeklitepe. But this thing that's spinning on the left there, this is a T-shaped pillar lying on the ground in a field at the site.
A T-shaped pillar.
A T-shaped pillar. You can see it better here. There's me.
Okay, got it.
There's me with the top of a broken and very badly damaged T-shaped pillar. And this is just lying on the ground. And we discovered this when we were looking around, myself and JJ Ainsworth, in 2022. And we thought, wow, this is major. So we put it out there. You know, we told several people. Hopefully, we thought the authorities might, you know, our tour guide might get in touch with them. They know about it. They've seen our videos. They follow what we do. They keep an eye on us, basically. And we've been going back there twice or three times a year since then, and it's still sitting there in the field where it was until literally weeks ago when they started the excavation.
No shit. Okay.
So 3 years.
Wow.
So there's 3 years of that sitting around in a field, nothing going on.
Wait, is this China doing it?
There's a Japanese team.
Oh, China.
There's a Japanese team. I don't know what, I guess, yeah. Close, but no cigar. Yeah.
Sorry, it's a morning shoot. I'm going to get so much shit.
Well, you'll have to edit that a bit, yeah.
No, we'll keep it in. Mistakes.
But there are Chinese teams working in Tepe area now. But now this Japanese team have come in and actually opened it up as a proper excavation, and hopefully they're going to preserve that T-pillar and hopefully find many more. So that's one example that we were involved with. So imagine what else is going on.
In my defense, I thought that said China Tech. It says Chiba Tech. Okay. Over there, or whatever, but it was right below the flag, you know.
You're defended, okay, perfectly. Yeah. There you go. All right, no problem.
My Gagnon's gonna have a fit.
So these are all the sites in southeast Turkey. So you can see Ayanlar, the top left there, the one that isn't circled on the top left. That is Ayanlar Höyük. That's where that is found. So it's one of the most western parts of. And that area there is probably like 40 miles wide.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask.
But
Got it.
Up to 50 maybe. But the whole area, this goes further east, further west, is 125 miles wide.
How close is this to Lake Van?
Lake Van, you're talking several hundred miles to the northeast. Lake Van is a very interesting place. I know you've happily had Matt LaCroix talking about that. Yeah, we've been up there a lot actually as well. And that's traditionally the Garden of Eden, that kind of area around Van as well. So that is heavily linked with this area as well, even though it's several hundred miles away. But yeah, but this is what is known as Tas Tepela. I call it the Tas Tepela super civilization. That's going to be probably the title of our upcoming book with JJ.
Ooh, that's a hard title. I like that.
Yeah, it's pretty
Tas
intense.
Tepela super civilization.
And Tas Tepela means stone hills. That's the name of the project officially. This is the official project created by all the archaeologists. They now have something like 200 people working on 12 different sites now. So it's happening. There's been this big debate about Göbeklitepe slowing down, not enough archaeology being done there. Jimmy Corsetti and others have been focused on that. But we've been back there. We go back 2 or 3 times a year, so we know what's going on. And they're kicking into it next year. But stuff's being excavated. This is pretty major. I mean, the most interesting site to me, because of a discovery I'm going to tell you all about, we made there, is Karahan Tepe. That's the one down it's in the middle of the Tek Mountains. And that is let me just show you. I mean,
let's go through that.
Yeah.
Matt LaCroix's talked about that in here as well.
Yeah, so this is what Karahan Tepe looked like before excavation began in 2019.
And this is your drone footage?
This is my drone footage. There's me
You
and my
got some good drone footage.
Yeah, I've been a professional drone pilot
you know what?
for years.
I can tell. It's clean.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I'm actually very focused on. Is kind of I love it. It's like the best toy in the world.
Yeah, I got to give this to Danny, my editor, so we use this as B-roll.
Yes,
great.
So this is what it looked like before. So this whole area in front of us to the left, completely unexcavated back then. There were just T-pillars, tops of them sticking out the ground. This was filmed in 2018, but I've been going there since 2014, this site in particular. And only in 2019 did they begin excavation. And since then, I've got some brand new drone footage of this is what it looks like now. This is like filmed a couple of months ago.
Holy shit.
That's
the same spot?
That's the same spot. Yeah, so this is how quickly they're working.
Can you go back real fast?
Yeah. You want to compare it, yeah?
Fuck?
Let's have a little comparison.
That was the first one.
Yeah.
I'm trying to even make out where those stones are in the second one. Okay.
It's basically we're going this way around on this one and the other way around on the other one.
Yeah, that's where they excavate.
Yeah, and further down to the left there as well.
There.
Yeah, all around down there.
Okay, can we flip back to the new one now? So this now turns into that. Whoa.
Yeah, it's major, and they haven't even started.
It's major.
Yeah.
Oh, that's major.
That's major, and so they barely started on it. There's only like 5-10% has been done already, so they got a huge amount to do.
Wait, how do they know the percentage?
They've done some scans, like some GPR, ground penetrating radar.
Wow.
So they know what's going on. I mean, this has been known about since 1997, but not excavated till.
Look at all the teeth, dude.
It is pretty incredible when you kind of think about it. Yeah.
Okay, so what are we looking at here?
So this goes back 9,400 BC. They're the dates they've got. We're talking 200 years younger than Göbekli Tepe. This is an overhead view. This area here fascinates me. So let me if we can just go back here, we can maybe describe it. So you've got the giant enclosures, like the big circle there, like in the middle of the screen, and another one up the top of the hill. They're like 70 feet wide. These are big, like 20 meters, 23 meters, something like that.
Wow.
Giant T-pillars.
Yeah, look at the people there. You can see.
Yeah.
You can see the scale.
A whole kind of settlement appears to have been built up around it as well, which is one of the debates, whether it was a domestic site or whether it was a ritual site. But this area over here, so you've got the main enclosure there, but you also got these two little areas. One of them's called structure AB, the one on the sort of bottom left there,
Okay.
with the little pillars. Another one, structure AA. So you can see it better here. This is structure AA, or the pit shrine, we call it. And then notice the one above it, that is almost like a serpent kind of carving, going a serpent shape with all these pillars carved out of the bedrock going into the main enclosure there.
This is nuts.
This is nuts. This is all carved. So there's so much of this. And on the right-hand side
Is
there.
that an atrium, they think, right there? Like an amphitheater?
Yeah.
Are those stairs?
Yeah, the steps, yeah. Yeah, there's some of them, like the ones on the right, they're carved out of bedrock. And it's kind of going up the hill to the right there. The rest of them would have been giant freestanding megaliths, like T-shaped pillars. And so there's a lot of work carvings directly into limestone bedrock, which is insane for this time. They weren't even
9,400 years ago.
I mean, they weren't even supposed to be doing anything like this till Sumeria or Egypt, like 5,000 years later. And so, and this is just one small part of one of the sites. Now, they say there's 12 sites, but we believe there's 40. Maybe some people say 100.
In this same spot.
In this whole area, 125 mile
In
wide
the 40,
area.
125 mile
Yeah,
wide.
so there's so this is why I call it a super civilization, because this is clearly the first civilization in the planet. And we can get, I mean, one of the reasons
that we know of.
That we know, yeah, I mean, more could be buried. And the only reason this survived is because this was all buried. This was all deliberately buried. This wasn't like, if this had been left out to the elements, there'd be nothing left of any of this. And so you got to like consider these kind of aspects here. But yeah, I mean, one of the reasons I'm so fascinated by this, as myself and JJ there, this is like something that happened. This is a bit of a story as well. It's you quite like this one. So this is like the winter solstice 2021. Mm-hmm. This is when this occurred. We went to Turkey. We wanted Karahan Tepe had just been excavated. It's the first time we could go there after COVID and all that stuff. And we turn up there. I turn up the day before the 20th on the 19th. And being a drone pilot, I fly my drone. But with permission of the landowner's son, I won't put his name up here, he thought it was okay. I thought it was okay. He was with me. We filmed at the drone. But then the military guy that was there called Istanbul University and got us in trouble, and my friend who owned his son, the son of the owner of the land, in trouble as well.
Oh no!
And it caused all this problem, and we didn't know. We were just flying it, thought it'd be fun, get some cool shots. And then, but JJ didn't come with me that day. She had to go the next day, and then the next day we leave. So we had to go the next day. It was so important. So I go back home. Next thing I know, I get a call from my friend, who the son of the landowner. And he says, oh, by the way, you can't come tomorrow because all the officials are now turning up and you're going to get in trouble. You might even get arrested. And we're like, what? Are you serious? I said, what time are they coming? He said, oh, like 10 or 11 a.m. I said, okay, we'll come before that. And he said, no, they might come earlier. I said, we'll come even earlier. We'll come we'll come for sunrise. We just have to get to the site. JJ has to see it. I need to see it properly. I need to have a look. So we are forced to turn up really early before the archaeologists and the officials and potentially the police get there, and we go in there and we make a major discovery by being forced to go in early. We see this head. This is the pillar shrine. This is structure AB. We see that head illuminated.
Oh shit! On the right side.
And we're like, what the hell is this? And there's a porthole stone. You see the porthole stone on the left there, the whole stone.
Yeah.
This is all carved out of bedrock, yeah? So the sun is coming through only on winter solstice morning, illuminating that head.
They hadn't seen that head? How the hell do you miss that?
They seen the head, but they hadn't seen the light hitting it. And so the light was coming through like that.
Oh, wow.
That's how it's going through.
That's like eyesight.
Yeah, this is like precision engineered bedrock carving, 9,400 BC.
Bro.
But check this out. So over a 45-minute period, the head gets illuminated like this. Like 45 minutes. The blade of light coming through that really thin porthole stone comes through and it moves around the head as it rises. We couldn't believe. Look, you can see the time. I've got a time lapse here.
That's some straight up Leonardo da Vinci shit.
Watch the head here. Like, this is speeded up. Obviously, otherwise it would be here for 45 minutes. But this is speeded up. Look at the way the sun comes through that porthole. God. And like, we checked this all out. We work with archaeoastronomers and engineers. We put the sky back to 9,000 or so BC.
And it would have been.
And it worked even better.
Yeah.
Slightly better, even higher on the face. So we know, and the beard, right? It goes into the chin.
Yeah.
Like that area
Give
there.
him a little goatee.
But that area there is like a V-shaped, and it's got scales carved into it, like it's some kind of serpent with a head on it, kind of going into the bedrock. And that's what gets illuminated as well. So you have this serpent symbolism, the face, and then that being illuminated. So this is kind of what it looks like. This is how the sun would move. We've worked this all out. We've written papers and articles. It's numerous books now. But the archaeologists won't accept it at all. They say it's pseudo-science.
When you say they won't accept it, did they even read it?
I doubt it.
I doubt it. So annoying. Like,
I know.
It doesn't mean you're. I mean, looks like you got some pretty good fucking evidence to me, but like, it doesn't even mean you're right. But like, how How do you shut something like that down without at least? I mean, that's insane.
So
it's
this
true.
This is right. So what happens? I mean, with the winter solstice, this is like the extreme point on the horizon, the most southerly point. So you got the horizon there. You got east there. Yeah. You got northeast, southeast. Southeast is where the most extreme point of the sun reaches on the winter solstice. Then around Christmas Day, it starts moving back, starts rising, and then it comes back to and then you got the summer solstice over there. So it only works. That only gets illuminated on those few days.
Yeah.
In the winter solstice zone. You know, this is very precise. It's designed. You know, it's a 1 billion to 1 chance this is coincidence. There's no doubt about it. So we took this to another level, and we actually worked with Kevin Esslinger. He's a 3D graphic artist, and he also. So we gave him all the data from the site, and he's been rebuilding it with us. We're working on it now. We've only done the preliminary work.
This is his work.
This is his work here, and we're now we put the night sky in from 9000 BC, 9400 BC, and we're working on it now. And we've found that it works just as well. You know, even if you have all the pillars in place, there's nothing blocking it, and you can just go on and on with this. Really, we even put a roof on it because there's a big debate that there was roofs over these enclosures. So we've been in discussions with many people who claim, no, this alignment doesn't exist. This is what the archaeologists believe as well, because they used to have roofs on them. And so there can't be any alignments because it'll block
but if
it.
the light could get in.
So we put a roof on it just to annoy them. And this is what happens. It perfectly allows the light in. And you can see the head getting illuminated. That's with a roof frame, okay? And then Kevin worked with these Native American Pawnee roof construction techniques.
What?
Specific Native American, the way they build roofs over their kivas and structures in the Southwest. And even with a thatch roof, and even if you just have one, you have to have windows in roofs,
right?
But a natural window between the timber frames, if you just have one there, you get the whole alignment happening, even with a big roof trying to block it. So we know it's for real. We know this is a genuine alignment. It's kind of you can't really disprove it. I've written this all up. This is all in this article here. People can check it out. And there's also I did a whole voice thing on the YouTube.
Yeah,
video.
let's link that down below for people to refer to. Reconstructing Karahan Tepe's 11,400-year-old winter solstice alignment.
And so this kind of to me this shows us several things. The most important thing being these were sophisticated people. You know, these were supposed to be hunter-gatherers. These were supposed to be, you know, cavemen type people. Right. But this is a different world we're dealing with now. And I've been digging into this, partly featuring this article, but it's also going to be a big feature of the new book, plus a new article I've got up on Graham Hancock's website, which is going up any day, looking at the fact that if you look at the anthropological data of hunter-gatherers, even before the time of Karahan Tepe, they're now thinking, they had this obsession with studying the solstice and the movements of the sun. This is the genuine thing that goes way, way back.
Did they believe it to be like a part of their gods?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah. Also, it was part of timing of feasting, initiations, rites of passage, and also it would, you know, just a sort of profound effect. You know, you see something like that take place, it's going to kind of have an effect on your, how could they do this? This is like magic. They
weren't so busy here being stuck on these things back then. They were actually looking up.
Yeah, this is it. And I think that was their screen. It was the night sky, and they became kind of obsessed with that. But there's a lot of other theories about what these structures were used for. I mean, I quite like this one. They were filled with water. Again, this is Kevin Esslinger experimenting with what it would have looked like if you actually put water in it. And you can do that with these 3D graphics reconstructions that we're working on. You can actually get the levels correct, alter the levels, because they look like pools. They look like they got water erosion.
They would have had to fill it, you're saying, make it a spring.
I mean, I don't...
Because this is on high ground.
This is high ground. There's no springs nearby, officially. There could have been in ancient times, but probably rainwater they were using to collect. Yeah, we think, if they were doing this at all. This is purely speculation. But they look like they're pools.
That's a sick pool.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like kind of fun as well. But so all these pillars here, these are carved out of bedrock. You have 10 of them, phallic shaped.
They always are.
Or mushroom shaped, some people say, carved out of bedrock. And then there's a final one which is like freestanding, which could be moved.
Yeah.
So you have all this going on, and we know this particular area, as with all the other sites in the region, were buried. This was from a paper by the head archaeologist at Karahan Tepe, Professor Neshmi Karal. And structure AB, he says, was deliberately filled in a series of sequential procedures. So when it comes to Karahan Tepe itself, the whole site was deliberately buried. We know that, otherwise it would never have been preserved. But only this area, where the winter solstice phenomenon takes place, everything was preserved and then buried. It was like almost kept pristine and then buried really carefully with these giant stones placed on top. The rest of the site, all the statues were pushed over, broken, damaged, deliberately, we think, and then it was buried. But this area wasn't for the winter solstice. So they could have realized that if people ever dig this up in the future, we're going to show them what we're capable of.
Yeah, let's play that out.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about 125-mile area that could have been you call it a super civilization, but it could have been multiple different tribes or groups of people. Maybe there was, without even extrapolating and bringing in like weather events or things from the climate coming, maybe if there were some sort of warring or disagreement, people from this particular area could have had some, I don't know, secrets or whatever that they wanted buried, and they could have said, okay, we're going to purposely do that here, and then later the disagreement dragged into war and the other things were destroyed around there.
Yeah, that's
possible.
That's a theory. Yeah, that's a valid theory.
Look at that. We'll call that the Julian Dorey theory.
And I mean, they're not really sure why they were buried. I mean, we know at Göbeklitepe, there was a slope slide which filled in some of the main enclosures.
Slope slide.
Just natural kind of falling in of the debris and things like this. Okay. But then there was definitely a deliberate burial at the end of its use. But here we have definitely it was deliberately buried. I mean, there's actually a debate about this in the whole alternative versus the academic world, that none of it was deliberately buried, but clearly it was, and the reason I think it could have been exactly what you're saying. It could have been exactly that. People coming in, disruption taking place, they wanted to protect it. Others people have said perhaps it was part of their tradition of like decommissioning a site when they were going to move on. So they would have to break certain things to like decommission, like despiritualize the site, take away the power of the site and then bury it. That could have also been incomers, enemies doing stuff like that as well. Sure. And so there's this kind of thing, taking place. But the thing people don't realize about all this is that this moment we're in now, this moment of this era, this is a massive discovery time. Huge. I mean, this just what you saw there.
The last decade's been insane.
Yeah, just the last few years. And every year more stuff's coming out. I mean, like these statues were found in late 2023.
Is this same site?
Same site. This is on the top of the hill, a new enclosure that got uncovered.
Wait, these are like complex.
Yeah, you got the giant fella there. He's like 7.5 feet tall, seated in this massive enclosure. He's got a beard, like one of those Egyptian like Sphinx type beards, which is weird. You can show in his ribs. He's got his part out, obviously, holding that like they all do.
Yeah, I was going to ask you.
Yeah, he's also got quite a cool haircut. It's like it's shaved down the sides. So they had Mohicans and things like this.
Why did they have it where they're like holding down an erect dick all the time?
That's a good question. We think it's to do with fertility. Like we believe these are fertility sites. So this is based upon, we've written a whole article about this on Graham Hancock's website as well. Well, we believe myself and JJ believe these are fertility sites. So this is like a ritualistic thing where they were just beginning to start agriculture back then. Within 100 or so years of Karahan Tepe, agriculture kicked off. The Neolithic revolution happened within a few miles of there, like within 50 miles of that exact place. So we believe that as these were all growing, these sites, apparently out of nowhere, suddenly they needed some kind of magic, like sympathetic magic it's called, to like guarantee fertility in the landscape. We take it for granted. We can get food anywhere we want. we can get water anywhere we want. These people couldn't. They had to go and find it. They had to survive. So I think it's to do with that. It could also be they were just a bunch of perverts, you know, and like they were just having wild orgies. We just don't know. I mean, we can speculate, you know, we don't know.
Epstein Island before Epstein Island.
So, but we do believe that there's a shamanic element to this, because you find quite a lot of this symbolism, but you get animal symbolism, you get other symbolism as well.
Yeah, the one on the left, the toucan looking thing.
Yeah, well, supposedly a baby vulture.
A baby vulture.
Yeah.
It's a big ass beak.
Yeah, you can actually see, I did a little scan of it. It's in the museum now. And this has been broken in specific places. So they're all broken in specific places. When Andrew Collins...
Broken in specific places?
Yeah, it was broken at the neck, and then it was broken at the kind of just below the belly, groin area. And a lot of these statues are found like that, and then they sort of piece back together. So I'll just show you a couple of other... Might as well just show you a few newish discoveries over the last few months. This is, you know, the statue there you can see popping out on the left there.
Oh, yeah, the head kind of thing.
And some other giant broken T-pillars just in the middle there. Yeah, there's a few other pieces here. This one's interesting. This one's actually got a nub on it. Look at that, like a little kind of button thing on the front. That's what you find in Peru and Bolivia and Egypt and places like that. This area was discovered a few months ago. They call it the kitchen. This is down at the bottom of the hill. All these beautiful stone plates. These are carved, like precisely carved, beautiful creations. Carved out of basalt and granite and different stones. But the thing about this, they call it the kitchen because they think food was prepared here. But they found evidence of Anatolian viper skeletons in here.
Anatolian viper skeleton.
Yeah, snakes. So this is like, if you...
Fancy way of saying it.
You can actually extract the venom, well, I haven't tried it myself, from the Anatolian viper and use it as a psychedelic. It could kill you as well. You've got to be careful. But, so there's potentially, that is evidence of them utilizing psychedelics. And there's mushroom symbolism all over the place here as well, which you can find. And we know that they were... You know, I think that this was a shamanic culture. I think they were well into psychedelics. They were brewing beer. There's evidence at Göbeklitepe in these giant vats, these sort of big tubs.
How do we know it was beer?
Well, they found calcium oxalate in it, remnants of it at the bottom of these giant stone troughs. And if you ferment barley, which grew at the time or grew later in the phase of Göbeklitepe when the agricultural revolution was beginning, if you just leave that in water and let it ferment, it produces beer, basically. Where it's like a really weak, disgusting beer gruel. It's like a kind of porridge, if you like. And
porridge beer.
If you let that go moldy, the mold that grows on it is called ergot. Ergot is what LSD was synthesized from by Albert Hofmann in the 1950s. And so technically you can synthesize the ergot into LSD type substance using very simple procedures. They could have done it back then. I mean, it's just water soluble. So you just use
what a civilization! Just getting hammered and taking mushrooms.
Well, they were drinking and smoking and whatever. There's probably marijuana growing in this region as well, because this is like not too far from the whole.
They're just hitting everything.
Yeah, Asian steppes and everything else. But so I believe that this was a psychedelic culture. I mean, and I think this is possibly evidence leaning towards that.
What do the archaeologists say? What are they trying to say?
They're leaning towards that. I mean, even Lee Clare has mentioned that in a lecture or an interview he did. I kind of, that's surprising. I didn't expect you to say that, but he's suggesting that because you look at the spaces as well, you know, the enclosures or stone circles, they're big enough to have big dances and ceremonies and events. They're not small spaces. It feels like they're designed for this kind of activity, whatever that activity might be. Then you got, you know, stuff like this has been found, ritualistic artifacts made of solid stone.
How big is that? Is that like an actual bowl size?
That bowl is probably about this big.
Oh, a little bigger. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty big. And then it's actually on top of another plate, another stone plate.
Okay. With
these scepters. You can't quite see them there, but they are there. And all these animals were placed within the donuts.
Is that like a rhino and a vulture?
I think it's supposed to be a vulture and I think it's supposed to be a leopard actually. I'm not sure.
That's a leopard?
Yeah.
That's a fat-ass leopard.
Yeah.
All right.
And then some other weird creature on the bottom there. And then...
that looks like an anteater or sloth or something. Yeah.
It's kind of bizarre. So, I mean, this was just found recently. This is Neshmi Corral. This is the head archaeologist. And he's just next to one of the T-shaped pillars.
That statue looks like him.
Yeah. Just need to get up there draw a little moustache on the pillar, and you'll be well away. I might just do that immediately after this in AI and send it to you. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not very politically correct. In case you can't tell.
That's cool. Nor am I. But so this is like all these. There's these hundreds, thousands of T pillars in this. All of these sites have these T-shaped pillars. Göbeklitepe, which we're going to look at as the biggest ones, they're gigantic, but they're all anthropomorphic, so they've all got arms on them going down the side like a diagonal, and then the heads usually have nothing on them. They're just blank heads, but they've got belts, they've got pelts hanging down, all carved over them. But all the heads are always blank until this one was discovered, literally a few months ago. It's the first T-shaped pillar in the whole region that's actually got a face, which actually looks like a T.
Yes.
T-shaped pillar.
Simple.
Yeah, on it as well. I mean, this is probably one of the later ones. I did a whole kind of update on that a few months ago. If people want to check that out.
Yeah, this is amazing. I'm like blown away by all this.
But this is just being discovered. This is at Karahan Tepe.
Is that another like amphitheater kind of deal?
This is a rectangular enclosure. It's in between the two big enclosures we kind of looked at. And this is, to me, this is like something out of Egypt or Sumeria.
Yeah, man. How long did this take to dig out this part?
They've literally done that this summer.
They did that in a summer?
I think so, yeah. I think the top part they took off.
What?
And then they continued and got all the way down to this, I think they finished it a few months ago.
But that's crazy to me, because it's not like they're using like a fucking caterpillar tank or anything like that. I mean, these are just people like digging, and they dig it that perfectly without damaging stuff. That's amazing.
Yeah, these are like proper professional level archaeologists working here. I mean, I got a lot of respect for everything they do. They get a lot of flack.
Well, good for them. That's amazing.
But they do also, ignore discoveries that me and JJ made, which is a bit annoying.
That's annoying, but that's good work right there.
That is good work. I mean, look at that. And a lot of that is carved out of bedrock. So some of those steps are carved from the bedrock. It's all kind of bedrock created. And so I find that really interesting. And it's almost got steps going down like it was a pool.
Yes. I was thinking Turkish bath.
Yeah. The first Turkish bath.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah. You got like the little hot tub area up there on the left.
Yeah.
And then it goes down into the infinity pool.
So this is brand new. This literally came out a week ago. Okay, well, this came out in late November, basically.
Right. This is our last recording in 2025. I think this is going to come out in January. So everything's about a month after.
So this is late November. This was all announced, and there's some more. I mean, you got this, but you also got this interesting statue was found.
That's a woman, right?
Well, they thought it was. If you look carefully at its where its hands are pointing to, maybe not.
Well, it looks like she's kind of going like this.
It is, but she's also got a little phallus there as well.
Oh, really? Yeah. That's what that is?
So we heard about this.
Wait, where's the phallus?
It's just sort of dangling out of her hands, allegedly.
Oh, yeah. Well, maybe.
So this is so when they first discovered this, we heard about this 6 months ago. And we kept hearing these rumors about it, but they wouldn't announce it until late November. And we thought, and we were told it was a woman. I think they thought it was a woman until they looked carefully.
Yeah, look at the shaping is what does it. This looks like kind of female breastplate. See that?
Yeah, yeah.
And the shoulders down a little bit more of what looks like it could be an hourglass figure down there.
Yeah.
I mean, I see what you're talking about there.
Yeah, I mean, and this is how it was found. This is it was just lying down in the kind of topping in the enclosure there. So yeah, it has got a kind of feminine look to it, unless it's androgynous, unless it's.
I was going to say maybe it's trans.
Maybe it's right. Male and female. Yeah. And often you get that representation at these sites as well. So you do have that. I mean, my good friend and previous co-author Jim Vieira is written about that a lot. He's found all these evidence of androgynous gods and depictions around the world, which is quite interesting, I guess, if you're into that kind of thing. This is another one as well, another little statue again with that sort of beard, like this, almost like a fake,
right here.
like a fake Egyptian type beard.
Yeah.
similar to the big statue that was found in 2023.
This one's very small though. Looking at the scale with the guy behind it.
Yeah, it's probably about less than a foot tall, that one.
Okay.
But the head, it's got an Easter Island look to it as well.
It does.
It's got quite a bizarre look. And then we got this. I can't work out what this is. This, I think, was part of a giant porthole stone. Like, often you find massive ones, absolutely huge ones, and that's like a section of it.
I'm not saying this to be funny. That looks phallic there, though, on the right side.
It does, yeah. No, I think you're right. It could well be. I mean, I need to get, because you got reflections of the glass case, so you can't see it properly. But
there's something about humanity that never changes with that. I remember Tina Fey had a line when she would talk about like the New York City skyline we can see right here. It was just a bunch of dicks built to the sky.
Yeah.
I mean,
literally, it's Karahan Tepe.
Yeah.
You got to be honest with me.
I guess we just never evolved with that. We're just like, that's
maybe it's a sign of high civilization.
Yeah.
That we will need to have our parts.
I guess so.
Pointing to the sky. A few other pieces here. This is, for me, this is interesting. The bottom ones here. You got the phallic thing on the left, but on the two on the right, you've got like a goddess figurine, like a Venus figurine. This was found at a site called Göbeklitepe. Göbeklitepe. This is the last, around 8,000 BC, 8,200 BC, the last site in that region before the whole place sort of disappeared. And it's very similar to what you get in Malta. This is what interested me. These are the same kind of...
This is Malta right here?
Yeah, this is in Malta. And so and now there's good evidence that some of the sites in Malta are possibly as old as the sites in Turkey. This is the work of Leni Rijic. She appeared on the Netflix Graham Hancock show, Ancient Apocalypse, talking about this. We know her well. She's spoken at a conference years ago. Her book is brilliant, Sirius, Star of the Maltese Temples. I do recommend it. And she is now, because of the movements of Sirius, through the sky and everything else, she believes that, Malta is possibly as old as Tastepala, the sites there. So it's pretty intriguing when you start looking into it. So there's a whole, there's a lot more. I got this is the one that was discovered at Göbeklitepe. That's found in the wall.
Another one with the face.
Yeah, there's a lot of these. I could just whip through some of the new discoveries. I think this is pretty cool.
Do that. These are all fascinating.
Yeah, this is a site called Sefer Tepe. This is near Karahan Tepe, just north of there. They found this giant slab with these two faces carved in 3D relief.
What the fuck?
So these are part of the same, block. This is what they look like close up. It's a bit weird, but look at that. That's pretty.
That's unreal.
Yeah, it's pretty epic. This has just been announced as well. Again, that's the close-ups there, and then this was found at Karahan Tepe, just in the wall of the enclosure. I think at the top of the hill. You also got this.
Wait, can you go back to that real quick?
Yeah.
So that's a face there in the middle.
Yeah, on the right. Yeah, that's
just carved right into the
carved from the bedrock,
stone bed.
And then it's shoved into a wall there. Yeah.
What? Why do you think they would have done that there?
Well, this is
it's like carving into a brick.
They do this a lot. A lot of the statues that are found at the site, especially the heads, torsos, are sometimes in the walls themselves. So it's almost like the sunken pit at Tiwanaku. We have all the heads around it, the kind of edge. It reminds me of that. There's a lot of that going on here. And so whether it's part of the burial of the site or whether it's part of their tradition or they're just reusing old stones is a whole other story. We just don't really know. But this one here is also from Sefer Tepe as well. This is two-sided. This is about the size of you can hold it in your hand. This is made of black serpentine, which is a very hard type of rock. One with a wide open mouth.
What's going on with the hole? Does that hole go the other side? Is that like a ring kind of structure?
No, I don't think it does. No, it's just into it a certain way. But you turn it around and it's got that face on the other side. So it's got like two faces on it. And one of the other sites we should have a look at is Saybirch. This one here.
Now, where is this in relation to Karahan Tepe?
This is much further to the west. It's near Ayanlar Höyük, so it's in the western side of the whole region.
Okay.
This is quite a big site, but the one thing I like about it is the name. The name doesn't sound like much, Saybirch, but you look at what it means.
Sign of the zodiac.
Counting say, and sign of the zodiac birch. So we're talking,
Wow.
this is like astronomically, chosen. And even like in Kurdish, the birk means watchtower. And so interestingly, back in the 1950s, at this site, in this village, they had to knock down half this village to excavate this site, by the way. They found there was a watchtower, an ancient tower there, like you get in Jericho in, Palestine, Israel area. And so that is intriguing. And this is kind of what the new enclosure looks like that they've now excavated. And you've got another guy holding his part back there, which we'll look at more closely in a moment. But this is all carved from bedrock. That's what's so mind-blowing about this.
Do we have any sort of educational guess, hypothesis on how long something like that would have taken? Just what we saw right there.
It's going to take a little while, for sure. Yeah, I mean, you're carving down into like flat bedrock.
Yeah.
And you're creating. This is artwork. Look at the art along the side here. This is remarkable artwork.
This is like breathtaking. Everything you're showing me.
Yeah, this
considering when it was from.
Yeah, and this is what 30 feet wide.
Yeah,
35 feet wide, something like that. This is a whole panel carving. You got a guy there. He's got a V-neck on again. He's holding his part, still there. This was buried literally under a house, for a long, long time. You can, like, on the left there, you see those.
Like there were houses right here?
Yeah, those house. See that house? See that little circle on that is where the house was. It's been knocked down. We used to go there when the house was there. And the thing is, the family knew about this. This was under their house. The house has been completely removed. They knew about this since the 1940s.
And they didn't tell anybody?
But they preserved it.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, they didn't damage it at all.
Oh, maybe they were like hiding it from the Nazis. They're like,
Well,
don't get a hold of this.
Well, and the
That's
other,
awesome.
You talk about the Nazis, right? But also the Romans, a bit before that, were here as well. If you actually look at the area, see that area, that's the enclosure we're looking at. The area on the left there, where it's cut into the bedrock, they think that is a Roman quarry, like 2,000 years ago, right? So this is 11,000 years ago, the main site. But 2,000 years ago, there's a Roman quarry. There's a Roman settlement. There's another quarry on another hill we've looked at. All Roman.
Whoa.
But the thing is, the Romans got that close to it, and they didn't touch that. They must have seen it. They must have known it was there. If they're digging into the bedrock just there, they may have discovered Testepala, the Romans. That's the revelation.
Left it untapped?
Yeah, but honestly, yeah, because, right, the reason I say that is because if you look here, this is apparently the Roman quarry. This might not be Roman, so this could all change. But just there, look, they went right up to where that orange circle is, and they left this there. And this is an ancient Testepala carving in the bedrock, but they didn't touch it. They went right up to it. Look, see how close they got.
Whoa.
So I've got this theory, we're going to put this in the book actually, that we think the Romans discovered the Testepala culture. We're going to start looking through all the old records, see if there's any mentions of T-shaped pillars or something like that.
Now, why do you think they have their quarry there, they're on this land that at the time is maybe 9,000 years old or whatever, and they see that this other stuff is there.
Yeah.
Why do you think they leave it completely untapped?
That's a good question. That's what we're going to be looking into, because they did. The fact is, they did leave it untapped. And there's several other sites. I mean, even Karahan Tepe, the hill next to that, which is called Göbeklitepe, which is the old name of Karahan Tepe. There's Roman graves there. So they were like getting close. And I'm absolutely convinced they might have found stuff, but didn't know what it was. They may have got warned away by the locals. They may have felt like they just shouldn't be doing this. They're interfering with something they don't understand. But whatever happens, they seem to have left it.
I wonder if they could have thought, depending on who found it within the nature of the Romans, I wonder if they could have thought that such history like that, if made available to the public there, would be some sort of, I don't really know how to say this, but like ancient existential threat to their hold on the land, meaning like maybe it creates some sort of new religious paradigm or something like that supersedes like their mortal involvement with owning this area.
Yeah, I think could be right. I mean, I've got a feeling they sense something
Yeah.
that they shouldn't mess with. They may have found burials.
Burials.
Well, there are burials at Saybirch. I mean, this is actually one of them here.
How do we know this is did we recover bones?
Yeah,
or-
there's quite a few. In fact, they found sort of little caches of skeletons inside the walls. This one actually is multiple. It's got multiple skeletons, but all disarticulated though. So the heads are removed, arms are removed, thigh bones.
But we can. That's incredible data for dating and also trying to study like what the people were like there.
Yeah, they're working on it. It's not. I don't think it's been published yet. Hopefully next year. So there's this kind of thing being discovered, and we have. This on the bottom right really fascinated me. This giant U-shaped stone. I mean, there's me standing above it.
I don't think I've ever been this glued to the screen during a podcast.
Sorry about
this is like no, this is amazing. Like,
well, it's very visual.
Yes.
You know, there's going to be obviously audio versions of this, and I'm trying to describe it whilst we're chatting as well.
no, you're doing a great job.
But you need to see it as well. You know, it's so mind blowing, and this is all brand new. I cannot quite believe what's going on here, to be honest with you.
What's the one on the top right? If you go back there for 1 second. So that's another T-shaped
Yeah.
pillar. Does that go all the way down below where I can't see?
Yeah, for sure. Wow. So this shows you the ground level now, obviously, but how much they've got to clear away. And they found like dozens.
Oh,
of
so
them.
that's still not fully excavated.
No,
Okay, got it.
I mean, I think a lot of it has been now. I mean, it happens so quickly. We're just trying to keep up with it. There's other pieces here. The one on the right is actually from Göbeklitepe, the pillar 43, but similar things have now been found at Saybirch. And the symbolism here, again,
Yes.
is something JJ specialises in. She's going to be writing about. Obviously, you've got the phallic stuff's been found there as well, everywhere. But the most recent discovery from Saybirch, which has blown my mind, which we knew about months ago, we were shown this photo and video 4 months ago.
Oh, you're holding it too. Wow.
Well, that's not me holding it. That's the archaeologist. But we heard about this and we weren't allowed to publish it, and we got given the video and photo.
This is a different looking face too. It's more elongated, bigger lips.
And then in late November, it got announced to the world and put on display temporarily at Karahan Tepe. It's now going to be going into the Chandelier for Archaeology Museum. So this is brand new discovery.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, we knew about it. I mean, the problem is, this is why the archaeologists think we're spies, because we keep hearing about stuff long before it gets published.
Oh, they think
and
you're
announced.
spies.
They think Andrews.
You work for MI6?
No, I don't. But
Shit, that was not a convincing no. I don't. Can we get a replay on that? His face was like, no.
no.
Cut.
Well, I'm sure they'd pay me a lot more than I get now if I was. But
Yeah, don't leave any bugs in here. I got enough of you spooky people coming through here. Jesus Christ.
But this is like fascinating to me. Right, there's a couple of things here. You got like the mouth, like it's got either really dry lips.
Yeah.
That's actually a sewn up mouth.
Sewn up?
Yeah, what a symbol of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the eyes are like mollusk shells.
Right.
So you get this here. You can see the close-ups here. Now this is from the Levant. You get burials like this where you have these mollusk shells placed on the eyes.
Yeah, that's an actual skeleton there.
Yeah, that one on the left is. That's not from Saybirch. That's from the Levant.
Right.
It's from
So you're saying this is like a recreation of that?
Yeah, it's similar. It just looks very similar. It's a representation
Wow.
of death, and I think a lot of these representations are about death, regeneration, and rebirth. And this all relates again to the winter solstice. This is a tradition relating to the winter solstice. We also got this discovered where a T-pillar at Saybirch, but at the very base of it, carved out of the bedrock that the T-pillars slotted into, they kind of create these little slots and put the T-pillars in, is a head, a shape, a face, just carved out of the... I've never seen anything like that before either.
How tall is that?
That's probably 8 feet, something like that. Some of them are up to 18 feet tall at Göbekli Tepe.
This is this right here.
Yeah, same face. Yeah, same face. And so there's a lot of crazy stuff going on. I mean, I put it all into. I did this little when I was actually on Easter Island recently when this all came out. So I made a little.
Is there anywhere you don't go?
There's a few places I want to go. I'll tell you that.
Right.
But I made a video about this. I did a little lecture and filmed it for our group, and then put it out on YouTube so people can see all the discoveries in one go.
Yeah, we should probably actually, to make it helpful for the audience out there, we should probably collab this as well on YouTube so people you can literally hit right below where this video is. It'll show my channel and Hugh's channel, and you can hit Hugh's channel and all these videos will be right there.
Perfect. Yeah. And so again, once again, we've got like the whole region. All these sites are coming out from near the Haran Plain. Haran Plain is the sort of lush area in ancient times that the water would all come from. Also, you also get water in Channel Eartha as well.
Just from my bearings, because you already said earlier, Lake Vaughan's 200 miles from here. But so that plain, what's the nearest body of water?
If you go much further southwest, you go into Syria, and then you sort of hit the coast.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
okay.
towards
right,
the
yeah.
west. Towards the west, yeah.
Okay.
But you have lots of lakes. There are kind of rivers. Yeah, just through. You can't really see it on here, but just through on the left there, you have the Euphrates River.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So this is one of the ancient rivers of biblical stuff. And then on the further to the right, just you can't really see it. It's much further to the right, maybe less than 100 miles away. You have the Tigris River as well. And you have a whole load of sites up there as well, which date back to before Göbeklitepe.
Wait.
And Karahan Tepe. Yeah.
How long ago did we find those?
Well, okay, Tepe is up to 9,600 BC. Yeah. Some of the ones on the Tigris River go back to 1,000 years older.
When did we find those, though?
They've been known about for a little while, as old as the last 20 years. Some of them.
Okay,
some
so
of them are brand new.
Right.
Some of them are just brand new, being discovered, but they don't have any major megalithic elements like you get at all these sites.
So we basically, if I'm probably oversimplifying here, so correct me if I'm wrong. Basically, it doesn't have all the hoopla that these areas have because of the incredible megaliths and artwork that we found. We haven't discovered that yet at the Tigris, by the Tigris and those civilizations, but there's something there that shows people lived here, and we got to dig more.
There are settlements there. There are megaliths, but not huge. They're medium liths, if you like, and there are beautiful carvings. They were making beads. There's a site called Hancock, where tens of thousands of beads were found. All the different types of rock, and they found beautiful carved stone bowls and plates and scepters and things like this. So there's a lot of artistic elements that came out from the Tigris sites. Göbeklitepe is one of them as well. A very interesting site. There's Hancock, there's Ayanlar Höyük as well. These are kind of unusual names. But many of them are kind of just in the process of being partly excavated and partly turned into tourist places as well. But we've been up to most of them, and we've seen most of them ourselves. But really the ones down this area are really the mind-blowing ones, which are kind of are going to change history. I mean, do you want to look at Göbeklitepe?
Please.
Have a quick look.
Yes.
I think we should talk.
We don't need to make it quick either. Göbeklitepe is wild.
Göbeklitepe is wild. This is an old aerial photo of the main enclosures. Each of these is 60 or so feet wide.
Each of those enclosures.
Yeah. And that's what's been excavated. I mean, this is quite old, this photo, I've got to be honest with you. But so now, they think there's 21 enclosures, and most of them haven't been excavated, as you can see here. So this is the GPR scan of the whole site compared to what's been excavated and what hasn't.
Oh, that's literally where, okay.
Yeah, so there's a lot more going on, and they've just now cleared away the olive trees. This was, for some reason, hundreds of olive trees were all over the site, and people like Jimmy Corsetti and Michael Collins, they've been pushing, campaigning against that, and they've actually now moved them all, and now they're going to start digging where the olive trees were, and this is where this main area here, the sort of central part of the site.
Wait, they were campaigning, Corsetti and them were campaigning against them digging where the olive trees were?
They were just getting rid of the olive trees.
Oh, okay.
Because they're damaging, the roots are going in and damaging the materials and archaeology underneath. So I first went there. I was really lucky. I went there in 2013. I went with Graham Hancock and Andrew Collins, both brilliant authors and researchers. I'm not sure what I'm doing with my face there, like a gopher or something. But
yeah, you developed over time. Now you got the hard look, like in all your pics. You look like you're on a rap album. It's great.
So this is like a scan I got of enclosure D. This is one of the main enclosures. These are 18 foot tall, these pillars.
Wait, this is a scan?
Yeah, I did a quick scan when I was there.
When you say scan, is this is a reconstruction of it, or
no? It's just with my
wait. This is actually it.
This is with my magical device phone. I was able to go around and just capture as much as I could, and you could turn it
Yeah,
into
there's something about that image that looked like slightly uncanny valley almost. That was crazy. Okay.
Oops, there's my face again.
This is really cool.
Yeah, so this is kind of what it looks like. They've actually cleared more away since I did this like a few months ago. You got Pillar 43 on the left there. But this would have all been pristine. And, I think these were, it's just absolutely stunning when you actually look at it. And these are anthropomorphic as well. But look, I think this was all aligned. This is the whole kind of astronomy side of it.
God.
Yeah, this is actually my little book I've given you. This
right here.
This covers some of the astronomy, the work of Guido Magli and also Andrew Collins and J.J. Ainsworth, where there's a whole orientation to the just off north and just off south, following the whole path of the Golden Gate of the ecliptic. Again, this is JJ's research, but this fits in because this was done before we discovered our winter solstice alignment at Karahan Tepe. So this backs it up.
Oh, wow.
This is already there. People know about this. So we've got the northern orientations on the left. So most of the sites, the big enclosures with the big T-pillars, they're like stone circles, basically. They're all aligned to the north and variations off the north. And Andrew believes that's linked with the movement of Cygnus, changing position, Deneb in Cygnus, changing position over a few 100-year periods. They'd reorient each enclosure according to that.
I have a quick question on this, if you don't mind, just because this is a great map you have down here. Why do we think that these civilizations decided to settle way inland up here as opposed to near the coast? What was the logic there?
You got the rivers. You got the big Euphrates River, which is mainly in the Taz-Tepela region. It feeds into Channel Urfa as well and Haran Plain. To the east, you've got the Tigris River. These are massive rivers. I mean, we're talking like almost lakes flowing through the whole country. So these created huge abundance, like the Nile did in Egypt.
But if, again, I'm thinking of that 125-mile area across, right? So the rivers...
That's basically between the two rivers.
Between the two rivers. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But you have civilizations, I'm just using round numbers here to keep it simple, that are therefore 60 miles from the river.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, that's a trek to get to the river.
That is a trek. But I think they created places they were near springs in a lot of places. But I think they deliberately created, and you can see this because Göbeklitepe, right, and Karahan Tepe are not next to any water sources directly. It's half a day's walk to the nearest water source from Göbeklitepe, which is Şanlı Urfa town or city, where there used to be giant rivers and natural springs there. But when it comes to these sites, I think they were created to be away from all that. These were sacred sites. These were, to me, they were sanctuaries that then later became settlements because people were attracted to go and hang out with them. So what they did was they created water channels. They created giant kind of dome-shaped earthen kind of chambers where they would collect water in from the rainwater. And there's evidence of channels being carved out and going through the sites, suggesting they were harvesting rainwater, and using that when they were at the site, which I don't think was all year round. I think towards the autumn and winter, you get more rain. And so that's when they would predominantly be at the sites. The archaeologists claim they were at the sites all year round, but we don't really buy that. We think there was a kind of seasonal movement between one site and another site and another. And it was part of a kind of ritual movement. Almost like the Aboriginal song lines, you kind of move around from one location to the other. You do your rituals there, you do your teachings, because I believe these were teaching places, like universities, schools.
You believe they were universities?
I think these were teaching places. Yeah.
Wow.
You start looking at all the carvings, the symbolism, the astronomy, and you realize that this was like a memory space.
How many people do we think were there at a given time?
At the very beginning, very few, because there's no evidence of anything except the main enclosure starting to be built. Then later, within maybe 500 years or a bit less maybe, smaller structures started to be built, square, rectangular, not quite as profound as the large circular stone circle structures. And people appear to be staying there and kind of working at the site, possibly serving, the ritual, the ceremonies that might have been taking place. And then it slowly became really popular, and you could see lots of buildings being built up. But they all, even the small buildings, even the square buildings that were later, had T-pillars in them, which is strange. I mean, if you're building a place to live, a domestic place, why would you put a T-pillar in? I mean, T-pillars were sacred objects. They were like almost worshipped. They were like the gods. And so why would you put that? So to me, they're like small shrines where people would come. They would come at certain times of year. They would stay in these places. They got somewhere to stay, but also they could still do their kind of spiritual work, whatever they're doing. And then they would build all these other sites around the whole region with a similar style, almost exactly the same style. I mean, we're talking like since day one when Göbeklitepe was built, every one of the other sites has exactly the same style for 1,500 years at least. So this wasn't like a random people. This was a culture. This was a civilization. And so
the fact that they're going place to place too.
I think crazy. They were. I mean, because there's so many of these sites, and they seem to be just in random apparent places. They are just everywhere. And I think they were just developing a kind of landscape kind of understanding to a high degree.
Do we have any evidence on how they might have traveled from place to place? Like, you know, are they just walking and schlepping it? Or are they packing carts to move like resources in between places? Or
yeah, there's definitely routes between them. There's even sight lines between them as well. So you could stand at the peak of one hill and you could virtually see the peak of the other hill, because often they're built on high ground. And I think there were sight lines between them, and there were just walking routes basically. I mean, there's like everything's like a day's walk or half a day's walk to get from one, you know, maybe a couple of days in some occasions. Yeah. So there's not like they're too far apart, but far enough apart to grow and expand. And I think as the people expanded, as the civilization grew with all the fertility rituals taking place, it went ballistic. And I think this is when it became a civilization. They had to build all these extra structures all over these sites. This is why the archaeologists think they're all domestic sites. They're not sanctuaries, which I believe is a bit of both. You know, I think they became domestic sites. They became villages after the main sacred enclosures were constructed. I think that's where you got to look at it from that perspective, in my opinion.
Over what period of time might that shift have taken place? Are we talking?
I think we're talking just a few hundred years.
Yeah,
it was.
That's still a lot.
Well, you imagine, right? You're going into Göbeklitepe. Okay, I've just lost all my slides here. Let's have a look. So you're going into Göbeklitepe, and you're seeing these gigantic T-pillars. Like, this is a reconstruction in the museum with JJ there on the left. You're seeing these gigantic cathedral-like megalithic stone circle enclosures, beautifully carved stones, carved out, pristine. There's evidence now. This is just from this boar statue they found, that they were painted. So there's red, white, and black pigments have been found at the site. So the whole place could have been painted. So you imagine you're a hunter-gatherer. All you've ever seen is the landscape and the sky for your whole life. You turn up to this, and you would just completely blow your mind. I just cannot comprehend. I mean, this is one of the reconstructions done by National Geographic actually years ago, which I think is a bit faulty. I don't think these walls were here originally, but you're talking like, you know, this would blow your mind.
Yeah.
You know, if you're a hunter-gatherer and you go and see something like this, I mean, seriously, it would just, you wouldn't be able to comprehend it. But, you know, just talking, while we're in enclosure D, we actually found another winter solstice alignment here as well.
Again,
yeah. This is, and we're actually going to be checking that out in more detail very soon.
All right, what am I looking at here? What's the sideward V right there?
Right, let's go back a bit. So, like, you see this stone here on the left. This was discovered in 2023. This stone here, a very specific place. This H symbol, these two other things on the side. It's all about the symbolism and the placement of where it was found. That is part of a large circular stone. That is a small section of a very large circular stone. Like you get at Karahan Tepe, the light comes through, illuminates the head. That is there. The exact position of that is, and if you look on the left, the far left, you've got the little inverted V shape, I think that is a marker showing the difference in the solstices. So the top right there, P30, that's the summer solstice sunrise alignment in 9,500 BC. The bottom right, number 7, that's where that stone was found. That's exactly on the winter solstice sunrise point.
Wow.
Exactly. And I think that, and if you stand in the middle, you can see both. And if you go in there, this is a friend of mine took this photo, that's the view of the horizon. You've got a clear horizon as well. And the H symbol, found, hundreds of these are found, especially in this enclosure, carved all over the stones. You can see a few of them here. These H's everywhere. The H symbol, if you look, the two big pillars and the horizon is an H. So the H symbol is most likely marking astronomical viewpoints. So I think there's a lot more going. We've actually been working on a reconstruction of Göbeklitepe.
It almost, by the way, on that H thing, it almost reminds you of like a street sign in a way, like with the arrows. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Like,
it's telling you
yeah.
something. It's telling you something.
That's remarkable.
And I think this is what it's all about.
It looks modern in a way too. It almost looks like
Yeah, a lot of
a
it does.
graphic designer would have done it. You know what I mean?
It is. I mean, it's very odd. I mean, it's the abstract nature of all this is why I think they were on psychedelics, because it's too abstract. You don't just come up with this when you're sitting around doing a bit of hunting, doing a bit of gathering.
That's right.
Something has stimulated you in your mind. You know, this is why, you know, you have to consider that perspective. You know, and I think this is why they were so obsessed with the sky and the stars. It all came alive to them. So inside Göbeklitepe, this is the reconstruction we're working on. That's the sunrise. And this is just below that on the winter solstice. Just below that is exactly where that stone is. So I think that was a porthole stone there, like you see here, the top one there perhaps. And the sun would come through and it would just illuminate. But what it would illuminate, we worked out, got a little video, is this stone here. And this stone here, it's very rough, we're still working on it, all in good time, is pillar 43. And the front edge of it has all these carvings on it, which J.J. Ainsworth says relates to the winter solstice. And so this would have actually been illuminated. So there's all these little...
Why is she saying it relates to the winter solstice?
She's done a whole analysis of this, and it's like something to do with the hand coming down, and is to do with, you know, reaching down into the underworld. And because the winter solstice related to death and rebirth and things like this.
Interesting.
Now she is she's writing this up at the moment. But the fact is, this is the one that appears to get illuminated. Now, we have to double check this. We're waiting to get the full reconstruction done. We're going to hopefully get access inside at this time of year in due course. So we're working on that.
How do you get access to that?
Very difficult, difficult, especially as the archaeologists don't particularly like me or my colleagues I'm working with. But what's also interesting about Pillar 43, that's the famous one on the left, that's one everyone knows about, is that not only do we think it gets illuminated on the winter solstice, it's been decoded by Martin Sweatman, a professor at Edinburgh University, as a calendar itself. And so
as a calendar,
a lunar solar calendar, yeah.
All right, so you have the breakdown right here of
basically it's worked out the amount of them V shapes, like 29 or 30 of them, to do with the lunar months. Then you add another 11 squares, that makes it to 354 days. And you add another 10 V's upside down and above and the other way up.
Yeah, I
makes
see.
364. And then he thinks the summer solstice, I believe it's the winter solstice. That's the one mistake. It should be the winter solstice is where it all connects.
Why do you think it's winter, not summer?
Because it's getting illuminated on the winter solstice sunrise morning. And I think the same thing, the Karahan Tepe proves that as well. But that's just, again, we can't prove this, really, even if we go in there at that time of year, and we still can't prove this is what it was used for.
That's some interesting coincidental math then right there.
Yeah, I mean, Martin Sweatman, he's like a statistician, like working amongst other things. He works with chemicals and other things at Edinburgh University, but he's brilliant. He's written this book called Prehistory Decoded. He's spoken at a conference, and I keep trying to, blend his work with ours, it seems to fit. So I'm quite excited about all this, really. I think this is all kind of changing everything. But the problem is that not many people, especially the archaeologists, want to get involved in anything to do with astronomy at these sites. They just don't want it. And I think that's where the real problem lies.
If that's half the story of the site, how can you decide not to get involved?
I know.
I mean, I understand you don't want like a basic 17-year-old girl walking up there trying to give horoscopes on these places. I get it, but like that has nothing to do with this. You're seeing like the math.
Yeah.
That you're identifying at these sites is absolutely unbelievable. Like how they would line it up down to the angle at the perfect time with the light to come in. They would you gave the one example an hour ago where they literally had a face getting covered by it at the, I mean, it's incredible.
It is. When you start looking into it, I mean, and it's heavily overlooked. I mean, this was a paper, this is JJ with Lee Clare, actually, the head archaeologist. He wrote this paper. It's very good, superb piece of work he's put together. And he believes that there's a whole perspective of, he's interpreted Göbeklitepe basically based on the discoveries. He believes there's ritual adepts, storytellers, and hunters involved in the hierarchy of the societies.
Ritual adepts?
Which means basically shaman, religious leader.
And what were the other two again?
Storyteller and the hunter.
In that order.
Yeah, they're the three main roles the top people had at the site.
Okay.
But he wrote this whole paper, and what really is an excellent piece of work, but what really bugs me is the fact that there's no mention of the astronomy in there, especially with all the discoveries that are now being made. And also the fact that a lot of my research, I've gone into hunter-gatherers, I've gone into like Paleolithic caves and other such things. And I've found evidence that potentially in very ancient times, you have caves in France that go 40,000 years old, some of them, or Lascaux 21.
40,000?
Some of them. And I'll show you a couple of images here. This is really, really intriguing. So you got the whole caves of France. I went there recently with my family. It was supposed to be a holiday, but I turned it into a full-on exploration, much to their disdain.
Where is this in France?
It's in France. This is all the Dorey Valley down in the southwest.
Is this like... Okay.
All over that part of France, down on the left side there, yeah.
40,000-year-old tunnels.
Some of them. So they're basically natural cave systems. And what we have, we have sites like Lascaux, the most famous one. This goes back to 17,000 years ago. It could go back to 21,000 years. And many of the symbols here are astronomical. And this goes back.
There it is again.
Yeah, this goes back. And so what's also interesting is that in some of these caves, back in 1972, a researcher called Alexander Marshak wrote a book called The Roots of Civilization. And he found in these caves hundreds of these bone plaques, which show indications of counting and notation, all related to the moon and the solar year, going back, some of them 40 to 45,000 years old.
Related to counting 40?
Yeah, these ones here, they've actually worked it all out. So they were counting and analysing very accurately over a long period of time. And so this is what's also interesting about this is that Martin Sweatman, again, he pointed this out to me, that Lascaux, if you go to the original Lascaux cave, it's closed to the public now. They've actually built a full concrete reconstruction, which is actually amazing. Lascaux cave itself, the entrance, they chose that cave because it orients to the summer solstice sunset.
Again.
Yeah. And this is it. This is how the sun comes through. And it would illuminate cave paintings on the summer solstice sunset time. So they chose a specific cave, painted, when they knew the sun at that specific moment of the year would happen over a few days, where the sun comes to a standstill and then moves back. And it would illuminate these caves. But it's not one cave, though. They analysed. This is actually what it looks like. This is actually a part of the cave getting illuminated.
How big did you say this cave system was again?
This is huge. This is like, goes on for nearly a mile, I guess, or 3/4 of a mile. So this is the bit that gets illuminated. But this isn't one cave, right? So these Paleolithic caves, this is like the precursor to Karahan Tepe and Göbeklitepe, in my opinion. I've actually written about this already.
30,000 years before.
Long before, yeah. And so what they did, these French researchers analysed 130 caves in the whole Dordogne region, southwest France, some in Spain as well, and found that 122 of them were chosen with entrances that aligned to the winter solstice, the summer solstice, and sometimes the equinox. Mostly the winter solstice sunrise, though, like we find at Karahan Tepe and at Göbeklitepe potentially. And so that blew my mind, because we're talking about hunter-gatherers going back much further back than people realizing, observing the solstices accurately. I mean, we're not talking, they were choosing very specific caves at certain entrances, alignments, that would then come in and illuminate certain paintings. It's pretty epic when you get into it.
In some cases here, I'm trying to keep it all straight, but we're talking about on either side of the Younger Dryas too.
Oh, we're talking well into the Ice Age, yeah.
Right. So these are separate, obviously separate civilizations.
Yes.
And we're talking about a span of, give or take round number, 30,000 years between them. And yet they're doing similar things. I mean, do you think that the explanation is that there's just something inherent in mankind that looks above and tries to relate so below? Or do you think that there's some sort of way that traditions or findings, whatever you want to call it, were somehow through all the climate changes preserved and passed on across civilizations that also existed in totally, in this case, separate parts of the world?
Yeah, I think there's a lineage of information and knowledge that gets passed on generation to generation. Definitely. I mean, I don't know. I think there are direct connections. I really do. I really think there are direct connections between the Paleolithic people and Karahan Tepe. The reason being is because you have the same observations taking place. Yeah. You even have the same symbolism. If you look at some of these caves, you not only got all these alignments and everything, but some of the carvings are very similar, 3D relief carvings in stone. You have to look at this. You can't deny this isn't similar.
What's crazy though, Hugh, is that I've talked about this before with several different guests on the podcast, but the way that the average human today views time is so strange exponentially. And what I mean by that is something that was 30 years ago seems like a while ago. And then the difference between 30 years and 100 years ago is a similar warp in our head to what we do 30 years ago. And then the difference between 100 years ago and 200 years ago is also like a similar time period, even though these are much longer time periods and getting bigger, to the point that we may look at something not even nearly as old as this. We may talk about in the ancient Roman Empire, we may talk about something that happened in 50 AD and then simultaneously talk about something that happened in 225 AD, and in our heads treat it like, oh, that's like the same time period. It's 175 years apart. The Civil War in our country was less than 175 years ago. Like, think about how long ago that was. So there's something about when we start to extrapolate further and further down the time scale of time, no pun intended, we start to assume things can be so similar. But to say that things were passed down 30,000 years across civilizations, that's 30,000 years. I can't even conceive that.
I know it's almost impossible to conceive, isn't it? I mean, you think about your perspective that's very interesting, because you look at Stonehenge. One example, you go back to Stonehenge. It was built 5,000 years ago. When Stonehenge was being built, Karahan Tepe and Göbeklitepe had been in use for 1,500 years and had also been buried for another 4,000 years. And so, it's like, hang on a sec. But there's lots of similarities. And clearly, I think there's migrations of people. I mean, I personally think that the Karahan Tepe, Göbeklitepe culture, the Test Temple, a super civilization that I call it, that was almost like an end point of the Paleolithic knowledge that was built up through these hunter-gatherer shaman groups for thousands and thousands of years. And they had to put it all down because they knew they were stopping. They knew there was changes. They knew that the Younger Dryas had come to an end. They thought, right, let's put it all down. Let's carve it all in stone.
Leave it there.
Everything we've learned, and then we're going to bury it, for future civilization. So it doesn't get forgotten. It might get lost, but it'll be refound for sure. And so people think like the Taztepala culture came out of nowhere. I think it's the other way around. I think they came down. All this knowledge was somehow kept, somehow encoded in myths, somehow recorded on these plaques that were then passed on, and these certain numbers and certain symbolism, certain things in the sky that were pointed out and read out around the fire every night, so people would learn it and pass it on. The oral traditions
the
are
oral
profound.
gets weird though, because I mean, you and I both know the what's it, the whisper down, it's not called this, but like the whisper down the lane game. We could sit here with 20 people in a circle and whisper a story, and it's only 95% by the time we get to the end of that, you know, to the 20th person.
Yeah, I agree.
So you're talking about 30,000 years where they're just talking at fireplaces or, you know, around fires and stuff. It changes.
But there were these traditions. You can look at this through the Native American traditions as well, very specifically actually, and also the druid traditions of England. Where if you start looking into it, you can find that the messages and the myths and the stories that were passed down had to be taught and it had to be learned and memorized exactly. It was very strict. It was incredibly strict. You had to learn every word, every nuance exactly as it's being taught to you, and you can't change it, and you'll be tested constantly. And this was the oral tradition. This is very much of the druid tradition, you know, that I'm aware of because it's in my homeland and everything. And so this was one of the things. And the other thing is these stories, they're not just stories. It can just be the same words in the same way, but a different level of person who has a different level of understanding, who's been initiated into certain things, will read different things into the same story. They could hear the story throughout their life, have gone through 5 initiations and understand 5 different aspects of it. That the first level won't understand the second, third, and fourth. And so there's that side of it.
Sounds very Freemasony.
It probably is. It probably is. That's probably where that all came from.
Don't do that to me.
That's where that all came from. Trust me. I mean, this is what, you know, these traditions. And I think the Native Americans were the same. I think the Aborigines were the same because they had something called song lines. And there's some brilliant research about memory spaces and about how memory and oral traditions, you can train yourself to get memory levels of the druids. You know, this is like a well-known thing. They had superb memory. You can train yourself to get to that level. You can do techniques. But memory spaces, I think, is also what Göbeklitepe and Karahan Tepe are. They're places where you've recorded everything you know in stone, and then different levels of initiate will then understand it. It doesn't have to be initiate. It could just be like rites of passage and age kind of, you know, rituals and things like that as you get older, which a lot of traditional societies still use, indigenous societies still have. And so I think that these were memory spaces, and then you'd be taught as well. They become teaching spaces. So, you know, different levels or different ages of people would be taught something from that stone, and the same stone you could learn something from a different level, from a different age, and you could pick up other things from it as well. So there's multiple stories within the same story, depending on your level of understanding and where you're at. So I think you got to understand that the oral tradition would have lasted thousands of years and been strictly adhered to. I think this is one of the missing aspects of the way we look at the past.
But it's this is where I get a little bit skeptical of that, just because it's so many years that, like, they're still human, right? So it might be strictly adhered to, but if it changes 0.01% over 100 years, and then it changes 0.01 over another 100, I mean, this compounds over time. I mean, people, the stuff we argue about is, you know, being so confusing now of 2,000 years ago, let alone 200 years ago.
Yeah.
Is crazy. Yeah. So but I see what you're saying. And I mean, I guess it's possible, but that's just wild to me. Like, is there any way, we talk all the time about the issues of like paper or papyrus and things that people would write records on that are easily destroyed in any type of climatic event. I don't think that's a word, but you know what I mean. Climatic event, whatever it is. You know, is there any other way besides the oral tradition or like carving in tablets that are purposely buried hundreds of feet below the ground that some of these things could have been passed down that I'm not thinking of?
Yeah. I mean, there could be stuff that's still, I mean, look how little has been dug up in the whole Taztepala region. There could be tons more things. I mean, they found evidence of hemp and flax clothing. Okay. So they know some things like that can survive depending on the climate. But also the bone carvings. There's a lot of bone carvings. And
Bone carvings.
Yeah, like we saw, like you get at some of the places in the Paleolithic world as well. A lot of those, you do get a few things like that in Tepela, like this one here. Actually, this is actually a stone. But on the bottom right there, you got Sefer Tepe. They've actually found stone discs that have symbolism and numbers on them and things like that. And then you have this etching at the top of Karahan Tepe as well, up on the hill, which seems to be numerical.
Wait, am I fucked up here? Or is that before they did the excavation? Or is this the other side?
This is still on the top. This is further up the hill, even further up. Yeah, even further up. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I don't think I'm 100% correct. I don't think everything is passed down perfectly. Don't get me wrong.
No, you got to give some sort of theory. Yeah.
There are correlations that seem to keep coming up. So when it comes to astronomy and the solstices, everyone's going to be observing that.
Right.
At any time, and they're going to notice it only reaches that point on the horizon, only reaches that point on the horizon, and then it moves back into the equinox orientation. So they know they're all going to pick that up. But I think there seems to be just a kind of consciousness like linked to that, and the information being passed down somehow.
Right. Real quick, Hugh, can I just hit the bathroom and then we'll come back and continue this?
Sure.
All right, we'll be right back. All right, we're back. So what am I looking at right here?
This is actually Karahan Tepe. This is just one of the illustrations that was originally a pen and ink illustration by my friend Dan Lish, who does some superb artwork for well-known rap artists as well. But I just put it through AI and it colored it, and it became like an oil painting. So I was quite pleased.
It's beautiful.
But notice the style of carvings you see in here, like you see all over Tepela.
Yeah.
This is what's so interesting to me. We were talking about the caves. You get these in the Paleolithic caves, going all the way back. Yeah. One of the interesting ones here is from L'Abri de Poisson. This is basically the shelter of the fish.
L'Abri de Poisson?
Yeah, the shelter. Yeah, L'Abri de Poisson. So it's a shelter of the fish. I'm not very good at French or anything. This goes back to 25,000 years old. You get relief carving like you get in Tepela. But what's interesting is that this is just one example. I won't do many more or anything, but this one's interesting because the jaw, they say, of the salmon, which is depicted there, is about 3 feet wide, is pulled back. And this only happens in the winter towards the solstice, yeah? When the male is in mating season. He has this thing happens to his jaw. And I thought, that's strange. And then I looked at it, and then this cave is aligned to the winter solstice sunrise. So the light would come in at that time of year and illuminate the cave. So they're depicting time-relevant natural phenomena inside caves that are aligned to that time of year.
Unbelievable.
So that is unusual. I mean, to come up with that, if you're a Paleolithic hunter-gatherer type, it's like, where did that come from? Where did these ideas come from? And so it just gets weirder and weirder the more you look into it.
Do we have theories, going back to Karahan Tepe, do we have theories about, like you were discussing, that these seem to be places of university and ritual worship, and they would move from place to place. But do we have any theories yet about how these people would fill their days and what their lifestyle was like, what kind of food they were eating at the time? Obviously, before they found all these sites, they just thought it was, more basic hunter-gatherer people lived there. But now it seems to be more advanced. So do we know what it looked like on a day-to-day for them?
There's evidence of what are called hunting traps around all these different sites. I mean, this is one thing. They're like giant V-shaped areas, like walls going into these rough V-shapes, different shapes, that you just trap these, migrating or moving animals into. You trap them so they couldn't get over the walls and kill them, basically. So they were definitely still doing the hunting. They were still doing the gathering when all these sites were being built. They weren't agriculture. Only developed 200 years or so later, like 9,400 BC, 600 BC maybe. And that was just north of this area, at a place called Karahan Mountain. This is like the giant volcano where all the basalt in the area came from. And that is, on those slopes, is where the first ever einkorn wheat was grown, which that was it. That was when everything changed. Everything became settled down. and expanded out from there, and the whole agricultural revolution, which we still almost live in today, because we're sedentary people and we grow food. We don't walk about with spears, hunting gazelle. Well, some
That's
of us,
what Deef was doing.
well,
this
apart
morning.
from him, yeah. And so there's this whole change that took place at this time, and I think as the expansion of the civilizations grew, they kind of had to. They didn't have any choice. They had to do something about it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're going to starve. So you have all these images. You saw some of the statues earlier of like ribs showing. Like, it could
starving,
that could
emaciated.
represent emaciation. Yeah, it could. But we don't know, because it could also be a shamanic symbol, which is part of the shamanic leaders, the kind of ritual adepts, would starve themselves to go into altered states to receive information they share with their kind of groups. And so you don't know. It could be a bit one or the other or both. So they had a lot of fun. They were like building massive hunting traps. They were gathering berries, which is fun as well, I'm sure. I'm sure they were finding mushrooms.
That's what I'm saying. That's where my head was going. Those berries, they're eating them until they feel something.
I think they also had time for that as well. They had time to experiment with consciousness.
Yeah, they're looking at the stars, they're hunting, and they're finding other food to eat. Like what else is going on? You know what I mean?
All sorts of stuff. Yeah, I mean, what we got here. Yeah. Also, there's I think not just with the psychedelics, we have you're gonna quite like this. I think they at Göbeklitepe, they found.
Come on.
This is to do with consciousness as well. Okay, they found some researchers back in the early 2000s from Trieste University. They were doing archaeoacoustic analysis of enclosure D. And they found this really powerful spiral magnetic field in the center of enclosure D, the one we looked at with the big pillars.
A magnetic field.
A spiraling magnetic field moving. And so this is really interesting to me because, I mean, I stumbled across this in this obscure paper.
Yeah, you got to explain this to me. This isn't clocking yet.
Because they were basically analyzing, these are the guys here, they were analyzing the acoustics. They wanted to see if there's any specific acoustics associated with the site. And they then found, the middle is actually Stonehenge. They found magnetism there as well. But the two on the side there are actually from the site. And they found not only acoustic properties, infrasound, which they couldn't understand where it was even coming from, which affects consciousness and affects your brain chemistry. They found this magnetic energy there, and they realized this is natural. This is the natural feature of the landscape. And therefore, Göbeklitepe was chosen, potentially, because it had this magnetic quality, and people could feel that when they went up this hill. And then they measured it, and recorded it. And then, unfortunately, Klaus Schmidt, the head archaeologist at the time, died, and they couldn't continue their research. The new archaeologists wouldn't let them in. So this is really interesting, and we've got a kind of depiction of that.
Wait, the new archaeologist wouldn't let them look at this more?
No. And now, but now it would be better. Well, we don't know. Going. I mean, at the time there was no archaeologist for a few years, so I think that might have been why. So we've created this depiction here. This is by Dan Lish. I want to give him credit. He did a lot of the artwork in the little book, in the little wooden book, and we think that not only, so you have this magnetic energy, you have acoustics there as well, like you get in Malta and Stonehenge and other things, and combined with, potentially psychedelics, man, these people were having a good time. And also you could see the abstract nature of the artwork. You get it. You start to get it because they were experimenting with altering consciousness. And I think this is so overlooked, even though Lee Clare actually mentioned it in one of his interviews. And so I think you've got to, approach this from a different perspective now. There's this whole shamanic perspective when it comes to understanding these people. And I think it was their culture. I think they had like a religion, but not the way we see it. It was like animism.
We're so stuck in, some of the 20th and 21st century, just like homogenizing of that entire space is, drugs and rock and roll or whatever. And yet these things are natural substances that are found in the plant life around us here on Earth that have been around forever, that ancient tribes, whether it be this one, less ancient than this, more ancient than this, it was always a common denominator that they had access to. And you don't think they would have been fucking experimenting with this to try to get, as you say, some higher level of consciousness? Of course they would have. But we're like, there's like this ivory tower around that somehow still to this day, even with all that we know, like in the modern day for uses of this stuff and how it can help people. But, you know, they're like, we don't want to look at that. We don't want to do that.
That's true. I mean, like, these are some of the artwork from the book. All of these images could be mushroom symbols.
Yes.
All of them. You got the top left there, that's Say Birch. You got the middle one we looked at previously, that's Karahan Tepe. On the right, you've got the birthing goddess from Göbekli Tepe.
Yeah.
It looks like she's got a mushroom head. Even at Karahan Tepe on the bottom there in structure 8A, it looks like a serpent with a mushroom head.
Right. The line between the phallic and the mushroom is dangerously thin.
They're often connected in ancient cultures. And also there's other elements here as well. I mean, one of these, you're going to like this next one, is the fact that Christmas is associated with the mushroom. You probably know about this.
This podcast is brought to you by Amantara. If you've listened to my ads, you know old Saint Nick was tripping.
And I've actually written a kind of slightly fun article about this. It's published on ancientorigins.net. And but there's a whole thing relating to the winter solstice rituals at Karahan Tepe and other places around the world, and how the Christmas mythos became what it is. And one of these is to do with mushrooms. The
Can you
Amanita
please explain
muscara.
this?
Well, you have the Amanita muscara mushroom, the red and the white. You know this. Yeah, you
Know it well.
Santa Claus and everything else, the red and the white, flying through the sky. It's one of the effects of this type of mushroom.
Mm-hmm.
There's also this connection with animals, the reindeer, and in the Sami tradition of this part of the world, they drink reindeer wee or pee because they're the ones who ingest the mushrooms. The reindeers turn it into the correct kind of formula for the psychedelic. Then they drink the reindeer pee and they get high effectively.
Reindeer
So it
piss
tastes
for
like
the wind.
tastes like bad wine or something, you know.
I wouldn't want to know.
Yeah, and then you have this thing like the holy mushroom as well. Again, there's different things have been found at Karahan Tepe, like these stone plates. Okay, I think they were carrying certain things on them. And when they excavated the site, they found these plates positioned on the benches really carefully. So they weren't just for food. They weren't for bringing out your sandwiches on or anything like that. This was for sacraments. And I think this is what we're finding here.
For sacraments.
Well, like mushrooms, like
yeah.
different things. And also, there's a type of grass that grows abundantly, normal grass, not marijuana, in the whole area. And that has a small percentage of natural DMT within it. And so some people have suggested, Andrew Collins talked about this as well, that if you light a lot of this grass and put it on fire in an enclosed space, which some of these may have been with roofs on in some cases, you're going to get the effects of DMT getting into your system as well. And so also many of these structures, potentially the smaller structure, I don't think the big structures had roofs, but the smaller structures did. And you'd climb through these holes. So you would have this smoky room with a fire going. You would have the shaman climbing down through the whole stone, coming down through the chimney into it, and then giving out the gifts, the sacraments. All very Christmassy, don't you think?
Very Christmassy.
And so there's all these different elements you can bring into this where we take Christmas for granted and all the symbolism. We just take it for granted. You see it on Christmas cards. You see that the presents wrapped under the tree. They used to always be in red and white under the tree, and Amanita muscara grows under fir trees naturally. The presents, it's all connecting. And so all these little things kind of come together, in my opinion, and suggest that these old rituals that were developed in places like the Taztepala region into other cultures came across now as we pretty much see Christmas. Yeah, and so it gets, there's a few other elements there. We can link down to my article about it as well.
Yeah, let's include.
Yeah, and
you can give that afterwards to us so we can put it down in the description.
For sure.
Okay.
And then you even have like I'll just go on a bit, the three wise men. Gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Right.
Look at that.
So gold, frankincense and myrrh
The first elves.
They're both psychotropic. Mm-hmm. Gold is valuable, but it could be monatomic gold, which is mind altering, like the kind of white powder gold.
Wait, monatomic gold? I don't know anything about this. It's mind altering?
Yes.
You can get rich and high at the same time?
Oh, this is very powerful stuff. Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. I've experimented with it before, actually. It's legal. Yeah, it's legal. Yeah, just want to put that on camera.
Yeah, it's all right. We can get you out of the country real fast.
And so that is a mind-altering substance, and that was known about in ancient times. That was found at this Hathor temple, for instance, in the Sinai of Egypt, where they found sort of these crucibles, alchemically produced gold turns into this white powder. Actually creates an anti-gravitational field when you alchemically produce it. And also, when you ingest it, it bonds your DNA. So it can actually have this profound effect on your consciousness.
It bonds your DNA?
It makes your DNA become like a conductor for light and energy. And so it's super healing as well. You should look into it. It's really, really cool.
Very interesting stuff. Yeah, I think Deep's already buying it on the dark web over here.
Yeah, well, I think you can buy it on the normal web, I'm sure. Okay. But so you have these three substances which could be psychotropic. And they're bringing this to the Christ child. Yeah, they're following a star, right? The star is probably Venus, right? So, this is what happens at Karahan Tepe. Every 8 years, you can go back in time and check. We checked all this out. Every 8 years, Venus will rise on the winter solstice in the same position as the sun, but an hour before the sun, on the horizon. And so it's a winter solstice marker as well, every 8 years. And so there's this longer cycle along with the solar cycle as well. And so at Karahan Tepe, that could be bright enough before sunrise to illuminate the stone head through the porthole stone. So that you get that going on. But the thing is, Venus is very much often associated with the winter solstice, because it's also, they found it in Newgrange in Ireland as well, another winter solstice site. Potentially it would be bright enough before sunrise to illuminate the chamber there as well. And that goes back 5,100 years. And so we have all these different weird little elements kind of forming. I mean, it could be bizarre coincidences.
It's a lot of coincidences.
There's a lot, yeah. And so I think it's quite an interesting, side to it when you start looking into it, for sure, yeah.
Now, you mentioned earlier, you were talking about how some of the structures we found, I can't remember if it was Karahan Tepe, Göbeklitepe, or all the above, had some Sphinx-like features as well.
It was mainly the beard.
Yeah.
It was mainly the beard thing.
How do we explain that? Or
that I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it could be actual beards. They could have just had beards at the time. I mean, the other thing is, but they've suddenly just started finding these, at the sites where they seem to have specific, they almost look like the false beards, which, the Sphinx used to have one. Mm-hmm. Some of the statues in Egypt have them as well, various pharaohs and other such things. And also, I mean, the Sphinx itself, I think, me and JJ think that could be a leopard. The reason we think that is because at Karahan Tepe, the leopard symbol is one of the most prominent symbols there, all over the site, at other sites as well, but mainly Karahan Tepe. There's also an alignment, we believe, to the east, like the Sphinx is facing to the east as well. And at that time, in the east, on the horizon, during the equinox mornings, like March 21st, September 21st, as the sun rises, it would rise in Leo. So Leo may have been not a lion, it could have been a leopard. So we find that there. But also, if you go back to the Sphinx, Graham Hancock and Robert Bouval believe that that's 10,500 or so BC, because it's looking east, and on the equinox, Leo rises with the sun at that time of year as well. And so there could be connections between these two great cultures. The Sphinx could be that old. And even Robert Schoch himself, the geologist, has stated it could be much older than people realize. So there are more and more connections turning up between Egypt and southeast Turkey. I mean, you can see that just in some of the symbolism. You can see that even on the middle pyramid on the Giza Plateau. Much of that is carved, the whole section of that pyramid is bedrock. People don't realize that one corner of the middle pyramid, Khafre's pyramid, is bedrock, carved from bedrock, and then they shaped the bedrock and then built blocks above it. Because you can see behind it, they got like all these caves that kind of go under the pyramids, which we can talk about.
Yeah, didn't you like break into one of these caves or something? Were you telling me that before camera?
Me? Yeah, maybe.
Illegal break-in.
No, this was a while. It's sort of, about a year ago.
Can we pull this video up, Steve, by any chance?
I was with Andrew Collins. He is the discoverer of what's known as Giza's Cave Underworld. These are a series of natural caves under the Giza Plateau, but the entrance is called the Tomb of the Birds. And this is all carved out. It's like a chamber. And then at the back, you can walk through into this area, and you can walk through deep into under the Giza Plateau and go and take a look. And this was a sensation in 2008 when he discovered it. And he hadn't been back there since then because he got banned from going in there or got locked up. But we found out, thanks to Trevor Grassi, who's another researcher on Egypt, that the gate was open. Or wasn't locked, so we thought, we'll just go and have a look.
Yeah, just go take a little
Take a
walk.
look.
That's all right.
It's okay.
Yeah.
If we get told off or in prison, so what? It'll be fine. So luckily, we just went to have a look. We thought we're not going to touch anything. We'll just go in. We went in, had a look, and we went through the whole cave system. And it completely blew my mind. I'd never been in there, and Andrew was delighted because he hadn't been in there since 2008, and that he was like, "Whoa!" And then a few months later, this big story came out, the whole SAR scan technology with Armando May and Filippo Biondi, where they did this whole analysis using their satellite technology that under the Giza Plateau were all these underground features and chambers. But weirdly, the Tomb of the Birds and the cave system, they orient directly to Khafre's pyramid. If you kept walking, if you could get through it further, it would join up with whatever's under Khafre's pyramid. And so I think there's a connection there. And even if you look around Khafre's pyramid itself, this is the big middle pyramid, around the back, you can see all these entrances going in, like sloping down into and then they're all blocked up with rubble. And so I think that there's something going on. I mean, not only from Andrew's discovery in 2008, but also from all this new analysis which is being put forward by this Italian team.
Yeah, and there's this whole latest what's underneath the pyramids argument going on. I know Ben Van Kerkwick's been talking about it a bunch. Michael, this is what I was referring to earlier. Michael Button and I got to get to it for like a few minutes. But for people out there who aren't familiar with what the alleged new findings are, I think my friend Jesse Michaels also just did a video on this. What is it that was discovered, and what are the hypotheses that are being put forward?
Well, I haven't watched the latest data. I've been traveling for the last month. But in general sense, just to put it, if people aren't aware of
General's
this,
good.
this was first put out in March March this year, March 2025, and there was a big press conference in Italy and everything else. And Filippo Biondi, he's a scientist from Italy. Armando May's an Egyptologist based in Italy. He's Italian, and they kind of created this team because Filippo was doing some brilliant work before he was interested in anything ancient. He was able to use this satellite scan technology, basically, mixed with some kind of other elements to do with acoustics, and able to penetrate further into the ground than he could before. And he was able to analyze bridges that have fallen down. He was able to analyze things that were really useful to people. He could help construction, where they know where cavities are and where they aren't, and things like this. And he got approached by Armando, and then they kind of put this team together. So let's have a look at the Giza Plateau, because there's all these stories of stuff under the Giza Plateau. Let's take a look. And so they did that, and they got these remarkable results. And initially, it was this huge area beneath Khafre's pyramid, the central pyramid, one we've been talking about. And then it expanded over the next few months. Because it uses up so much computer power, it takes time to analyze areas really carefully. And they kept repeating the process to double, triple check, as best they could. And they kept finding all these things. But some of them correlated what was already known to be there. So there's good evidence that it works. You know, in my opinion, I think it does. Now they're claiming stuff goes a kilometer beneath the pyramids. I mean, that is what two-thirds of a mile or whatever, and that is hard to take when you think about it, because you're going deep into the water level to start with, and you're almost reaching a point where it's going to be pretty hot.
What are they basing the kilometer take on?
This is based upon their data, basically. They're basically penetrating into the ground with this SAR technology, but using acoustics to kind of vibrate it downwards, I think. I think that's a simple way of explaining it.
Okay.
And then they can kind of read the data and analyze it and create images from that. And they've now been analyzing many of the shafts that have been investigated by people like Trevor Grassi. I think they're going to be, we've asked them to look at the Tomb of the Birds and the Giza's Cave Underworld, because if they can get that and get it accurately, it'll back them up.
Are they getting a lot of resistance from the regular crew in Egypt, I take it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that is the word. Yeah, definitely. And but I think it has to be taken carefully. You have to take this kind of carefully, because number one, you've got it's all done from satellites, so basically they don't need permission to do anything. Zahi Hawass demanded they should have had permission, this, that, and the other, but they don't need to have that. But what needs to be done now, as far as I'm concerned, is they need to now go out on the Giza Plateau with GPR. You can get these kind of rollers, you know, just roll them about and just do that. Just see if it matches what they found. Then you can verify what they've got or what they haven't got. I mean, obviously you can't go down a kilometer with that, but you can go down a certain amount and check some of their data, see if it matches up. I think that's what they got to do. But they also got to get into some of these tunnels. I mean, because some of them are accessible. I mean, we know
the fact that some of them are like blocked off and they're like, no, just don't look at it. That's crazy.
Yeah, some of them, but there's a lot of, I mean, if you go to the Giza place, it's just rubble everywhere, chucked in any hole they can find, you know, and it soon gets filled up with sand. So it's hard to sort of excavate. And so, but these new technologies that are now available, why not take a look? You know, why not just get some pinhole cameras going down there? Let's see what's going on. I mean, because they're finding stuff in the pyramids still. I mean, for God's sake, these have been known about for hundreds of years.
Yep.
They're still finding stuff inside pyramids because it's like solid block of stone virtually. You know, obviously made up of smaller blocks, but it's like a mountain of stone. So they're still they can still find stuff in there. Why can't they just go underground a little bit and see what else is being found? But I think the new research, I'm not 100% aware of it. I haven't had a chance to follow up on it. But I think they're just now just taking it and getting more detailed analysis of what they've already put forward. And I'm very interested to see where this all goes, to be honest with you.
The new research notwithstanding, because that's still developing prior to what we're hearing now, what were your thoughts? What have your thoughts been on whether or not it was possible for the pyramids to be created as they've said, and what the timeline you thought it was of when they were actually created versus when we're told? So
we're told they're at roughly 2600 BC onwards. This is like the kind of fourth dynasty. The first dynasty was really 3100 BC. This was the Scorpion King, or Nama, or Menes. And the first pyramids really were built towards the end of the second, early third dynasty at Saqqara and places like this. So that's probably going back to 2800 BC. But there's some dating, some luminescence type dating was done on the Giza Plateau of some of the granite on Menkaures pyramid, the third pyramid. And they found that to be, this was by Robert Temple and also another team. He funded this project, this research, his brilliant research. He spoke at our conference recently. And he believes that he's got dates officially that are at least 400 to 500 years older.
At least, yeah.
So we're talking first dynasty or before. Now that's conservative dating. I mean, there's elements to this, because when you're dealing with, I mean, you look at the chambers under the pyramid. There are chambers there. There are tunnels. There are entire complexes like the Osiris shaft, which is multiple levels going down with, you know, descending passages. They could have been done any time because you can't date the bedrock. This is the problem. And this is why getting down to the bedrock where they take their samples from in Turkey, they can actually date it. But I don't think they've got samples that far down. It's all flooded with water. And so I think there's a potential of it all being much, much older. I think that has to be considered, especially now with Göbeklitepe and Karahan Tepe dating, because there are direct connections between these cultures. Something that Andrew Collins has looked at, JJ's been looking at it. You find like there's a myth from Haran, for instance, which is in the Haran plain near Göbeklitepe, where the Sabians would have traditions of coming down to specifically Khafre's pyramid, and underneath there would be some of the sacred rooms of their religion and things like this, linked with Enoch and other such things. And so it's very bizarre. You find these connections. You find the same kind of arrowheads that go back to the pre-pottery Neolithic in a place called Helwan. There's something that Klaus Schmidt and Andrew looked at. You get them also in Shanlurfa. There's a site actually in Shanlurfa where one of the statues, Urfa Man, was found. And they're the same types of heads going back to the same era. So how are they in these two places at once? So you get all these correlations.
I want to know how the goddamn stones got there.
Oh man!
I mean,
just the granite. I mean, you're bringing up 70-ton blocks of granite. What, 600 kilometers, like 400 or 500 miles from Aswan?
Yeah.
And then you're lifting it up above the king's chamber with all these layers of these granite blocks. Firstly, how'd you get it to the Giza Plateau? And then how'd you lift them up?
Some strong-ass slaves.
Yeah.
Something.
Giants. Yeah, it's got to be giants, yeah.
Yeah, actually, on that note, you've done a lot of work on giants, you were saying.
Myself.
So you're a believer.
Well, myself and Jim Vieira, we've written 2 books on the subject. I mean, because I don't believe in giants or anything like that, but I do believe all the accounts I found in the academic record.
Okay,
That's what fascinates me.
How do you say those two things at the same time? I don't believe in giants, but I believe all the accounts. It's I'm not gay, but I'm kind of gay.
but how would you account for 1,000 reports of giant skeletons in North America, for instance?
Yeah.
Written by academics, even in the Smithsonian's own journals, by doctors and people who've dug them up. Are they all lying? Or is there some reality to it? And I think that's where the problem is, because we're dismissed as giantologists, stupid, you're making it all up. But we're not. We found all the accounts and we're like, what the hell? We need to
something to it.
There's something to this. We need to just, at least we don't necessarily, we haven't seen any real skeletons. I've seen sort of the odd fragment here and there. But you have to kind of consider there's something weird going on in the past, especially with all the myths of giants everywhere as well. I mean, even Stonehenge, the original name of Stonehenge was the Giant's Dance. That was the first,
Giant's Dance?
That was the first name of Stonehenge before it became Stonehenge. That's a Saxon name that was added much, much later.
They're we got to clean this up academically. What books did you write? Which giants did you focus on in your books?
Our first book we did in 2015 was called Giants on Record, and that was focused on North America entirely. A little bit of Mexico, a little bit of Canada. Our other book came out in 2021 called The Giants of Stonehenge in Ancient Britain. That was very focused on all of Britain, not just Stonehenge, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and England. And we found 250 reported accounts there as well.
What did the reported accounts look like?
Same,
people saying
same kind of
something?
thing. Same kind of thing. It's like academic journals. You've got there were certain ones on display in certain places. You've got obscure ones which you can't really verify because it's one account in one report newspaper from the 1824. From Wales. You can't go off, you can't verify these things. But we're quite open-minded, but we're also relatively sensible. So we just thought we'd put them all together, put all the accounts we could get together, analyze them. We made a big thing about these ones are clearly hoaxes, pointed out which ones are clearly hoaxes, and these are the ones we can't really prove were hoaxes. What do you think? And we kind of left it open for people to look at because we don't want to kind of come across as completely madmen, And the same thing with Britain as well. But we looked more into the myths in Britain because all the myths of Britain, all the founding myths, all the myths associated with megalithic sites, all linked with giants. Virtually every one. It's very weird the more you get into it. And we found accounts of, I dare to say it, over 14-foot tall skeletons being found near Stonehenge, and reported by academics in the early 1500s. what'd you do with that? You have like
There's no record. They didn't keep them. We don't have them anywhere.
no,
Just reported
a lot
that
of
they
them
found
turn to dust apparently, or they get taken away.
convenient.
They get taken away by kind of
the reptiles.
the rich people. maybe the same thing. But
What's that guy's name? David Icke. Somewhere he's like, yeah, that's it.
yeah, maybe, but there's an interesting story there, but we leave it open. We're not trying to kind of convince anybody that giants ruled the earth or anything like that. But we found it just a compelling narrative, a compelling story, and to put it together in these two countries. And it was a great project. We really enjoyed working on it, and we stand by what we put out. We're not like, we're very clear. We don't really, we're not believers. We're not like,
I understand now.
You know what I mean? But we found it compelling. There were so many accounts.
There's something that happened.
So many.
Even if that's not the explanation, there's some sort of
All over
pattern to these accounts that says something different could have been going on.
Yeah, I mean, even here, like New York, all this area, we have over 100 accounts
Of giants?
Yeah, going back to the.
I mean, they play 5 miles away.
There you go. See, they've even stolen the name of the old giants. Yeah, but you have like going slightly further west from here. You have like a whole bunch of mounds. I can't forget exactly where. Going into Pennsylvania, basically. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. There's a whole series of mounds that were found. I can't remember. This is like we wrote the book 10 years ago, but it looked like there was some kind of battle as well, and they found all these skeletons. And they were reported and dug up, and they all disappeared. But everything in America has been taken away by NAGPRA.
NAGPRA?
Yeah, Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act. In 1990, that got enforced. So all the burials, all the skeletons that some were on display in like universities and museums, all got taken away and reburied in a sacred manner.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about.
And so there's that. So there's not much evidence left, but there's a lot of data, and it's very weird. You start reading all the accounts and all the discoveries from from New York, for instance. Okay, it just blows your mind. It's
Yeah,
just
the
like,
fact that could have been like right here.
Yeah.
We don't think of anything that way in
know.
America, but this was
No.
here for a long time, obviously.
But the mound culture people, especially,
The who?
the mound culture. So that mainly Ohio, going down all the way down into like Louisiana, down the Mississippi kind of area. You got a lot of skeletons were unearthed in the mounds right up until the mid 1900s. That were like 7-8 feet tall. 9
And
feet tall.
if they hypothetically did exist and they were giants, are these humans that were just way bigger,
Yeah.
or are they something entirely different?
No, I think they were just very well. I think they were. It appears that they were breeding. The elites of these different tribes and cultures were breeding between themselves. They weren't breeding with the kind of common people. They were like,
Right.
Yeah,
Optimizing the height, weight, size.
Yeah, it was very much a royal kind of vibe. Yeah, keeping it within certain groups. It's bizarre when you start looking into it. I tell you, it's a weird one, and I find I'm still compelled by it. Because more accounts as more newspapers get digitized and more old reports get digitized, you can't help but go, "What the hell?"
Something.
It's
There's a there.
So how could everybody be making up these
Right.
stories for 200 years in America? It just doesn't compute.
And that's the thing. It's like it could have a different explanation. It could be something different. But there's a there. Like there's something that was different that allowed maybe something like this to happen, like Stonehenge or whatever, that is some sort of explanation that we have not figured out yet, but the pieces of people who thought maybe they figured it out are there.
Yeah. There's you start looking into the Native American traditions as well. We had very strong, as we mentioned earlier, very strong oral traditions.
Yes.
And they talk about giants as a matter of fact, as part of their history. It's just, that's it. And can you dismiss that? They just, and they see it as a factual thing. And there's a very interesting academic, also Native American campaigner and elder who died around 10, 12 years ago, called Vine Deloria Jr.
Vine Deloria Jr.
Vine Deloria Jr.
Okay.
You should look him up. He's really cool. He wrote a book called Red Earth, White Lies. He wrote a book, How We Used to Live. I've just been reading that, actually. And he doesn't just... He was one of the first people to put a lot of these giant accounts together. And he was like, wow, this is like, what the hell? And then I love his book, How We Used to Live or How We Used to Be. That talks about the shamanic element of these cultures and the magic they could do in front of people. And it was recorded by many white settlers coming in, witnessed these outrageous feats of magic, like that almost impossible to comprehend. And he recorded them all in this book as well. And so these people, then that shows me this could have been what the Tepela people were like. They high-level shamans, and they developed these skills over, hundreds, if not thousands of years. And so I think, looking back at, cultures relatively recently, like here, you're going to find clues as to what was going on in other places around the world in much, much earlier times. And this is where the anthropological data comes in really handy. The stuff that based upon the hunter-gatherer groups, a lot of them are from North America, actually. And they've managed to sort of relocate that thousands of years ago and apply that to the same, as people were doing the same thing back then. And that's where a lot of and this is why the solstice was, again, being multiply used by all these different cultures going back thousands of years. So it's fascinating when you start digging, and I've got to be honest with you, a lot of this isn't on the internet. So we have to dig into old journals. We have to dig into go through paywalls on academic sites.
God, you take that for granted. You would think that it's all like out there at this point.
Yeah, but honestly, I did a podcast similar to this like a year ago or something, and they didn't want to attach my computer or anything and show some images. And as I kept talking, they kept trying to find all the things I was talking about, and they're just not there. So it's really, myself and JJ, we really dig into the records. And Jim Vieira, when I was working with him on the giant books, we would go to libraries, go through old kind of microfilm, spend hours, trying to find something. And I think that's what doesn't really happen so much anymore.
That's cool that you're doing that.
Digging into old books. Yeah, we have to translate a lot of things as well from,
What languages?
Well, all the Paleolithic stuff, a lot of that's from French and Italian.
Oh, that's good.
We have to translate a lot from, sometimes you have to translate stuff from Latin, if you want to get the, Roman stuff and things like that, which we're going to have to do. We're going to prove the idea that the Romans discovered Tepela, which is a whole other story.
I think you're onto something there.
Yeah.
The quarry is interesting.
That is odd, yeah. It gets weirder the more you start looking. And I think, a lot of it is behind paywall, so we have to reach out to academics to send us the articles, or we have to pay for it, you have to pay quite a lot as well for these academic, just to get one article sometimes.
Maybe we can Mike Benz that?
Yeah, maybe
you think that'll work? Yeah. Mike Benz has this trick to get around paywalls on a lot of stuff. I don't know if it works for like intricate academic papers.
I need that.
Deef, you can't see it because we have your HDMI plugged in, but Deef uses this sometimes, like when we got to pull up New York Times stuff and things like that. It's there.
Oh, that's good to know.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, give me a link.
All right. We'll see if we can do that. What are you looking at when we're looking through Turkey, whether it be Göbeklitepe or Karahan Tepe or all these different sites across that 125-mile plain that we've been looking at? What are, outside of having some of the astrological data and solstice data that you've been able to put together, actually looked at and continue to be reviewed, outside of that, what are the next parts of the excavation or discovery process that you're most keyed in on or you're most looking forward to that they need to do there?
Yeah, well, I just want them to keep digging. That's my primary, and they do appear to be doing that. They've just started at Ayanlar Höyük. They're starting hopefully at Yogenberg, another site. They're working at a site called Harbet-Zuvan Tepesi. There's a few other sites which they're now gonna, and I think this is the key. You got to keep digging. I mean, this is one of the problems that Göbeklitepe, they're turning it into like a tourist site. They're kind of protected by UNESCO. They even have WEF funding, which is weird.
Oh, that's interesting.
What I'm doing, and which is like, steps outside of the archaeology, is working with Kevin Esslinger on this. So what we're gonna do is, now we've got most of the data, I've got access to new drone footage, I've got scans we're adding to our plan here. We're going to reconstruct Karahan Tepe 100% to what we believe it looked like in ancient times.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what we're working on now. We're going to illustrate, we're going to paint, 3D reliefs on each of the stones as we think they would have been. And we've already put the night sky in to kind of get the exact alignments down as well. So we're using computer programs for astronomy, put in the night scan of 9,400 BC. Then we're going to put all the pillars up where we think they all were, and we can see all the shadows and the light, how it all moves as the sun rises and the stars go over, everything. So then you step out, you don't need, I mean, as long as they keep digging and we can get the new data to add to the scans, add to our project, we can reconstruct it ourselves. We don't need the archaeologists to do that. And so we're working on that. This is
so cool.
That's a long-term project. It's only just, we're waiting to get more data. We've actually got some brand new stuff I got last week, which we're going to add to it. So we should be able to put this together pretty quickly now. And then we're going to do it at Göbeklitepe as well. We've already started on that. And so
when are you going back next to Turkey?
we're going back really soon. Really soon.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure when this is coming out, but we're going
January.
Can you bring it out earlier?
Probably. I just filmed a million podcasts,
Okay,
so this is probably gonna be January because I have ones that are like pressing current event type stuff. So it's probably gonna come out like mid-January.
Okay. Well, we are going back before that again for the winter solstice. I know this is coming out in January, but we're going to be doing all that, and we're going back there in May. And in September, we run tours there as well for groups.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and because we're so blown away by this, we have
it's
to.
amazing.
Yeah, and but one of the things, this is the next step really, because if we can reconstruct it as to what it would have looked like, we can work out all the astronomy without having to go there. So because they're planning now, this is what's really depressing, is they're actually building a new roof over the site.
Wait, a route like their own?
Let me just show you an image of this because it's quite annoying. So this is what they've started doing already. They've actually started building these. This was taken back in March when our friend Michael Collins was there from Wandering Wolf.
So that people can't.
So they're building like this. These pits are where they're going to put the new roof. This is what the roof's going to look like.
Oh, I get it now. Okay,
Yeah.
I was confused for a second.
So that concerns us because that could block the winter solstice alignment. And they could block all the other alignments we want to.
Well, maybe that's the plan.
Maybe, and this is
Maybe that's the grand plan.
But look at it. If you look at it there, the plan there, what they've got here, the first images of what it may look like. They're keeping the sides open, which is essential because all the astronomy we're looking at is based on virtually on the horizon and not far off it. So it might be okay, but there's a lot of this going on. There's a lot of there's a lot of construction going on now, but luckily they're not doing it just yet. They were supposed to start this year, but they've been delayed because of all the new discoveries. So we're going to make sure we kind of get there and have a look at it carefully before they put it up.
Well, there's a lot to still be discovered around this very clearly, but it is so cool, and I'm here for all of it. I'd love to keep you here for a while, but we do have a flight to catch this afternoon.
Yeah, me too, actually. Yeah.
All right, good. So we're on the same page, but I'm going to have to bring you back. Obviously, you said you're going back in January and May. Maybe after May, we could bring you in again when we get a chance to go through some of the stuff you're finding.
I mean, there's so many updates. I mean, just to say, there's so much more going on. I mean, let me just show you this one slide, which is another aspect of the work, which we'll get into another time, is the geometry and the metrology, because we're finding remarkable correlations. We're finding measurement systems. We're finding accurate geometrical principles that didn't even exist at this time, apparently. And they must have known the size and shape of the Earth, because some of the metrology is absolutely insane. So I've actually measured it all up and found these ancient measurement systems throughout the whole site.
Oh my God.
And that's all the sites I've been looking at. So what we're finding is, I mean, we'll get into this another time, but I just want to mention this because this is how important it is. The first ever use of advanced geometry and measurement systems were taking place here. Now, this means that they must have measured the Earth before this. I mean, when did they do that?
They knew it wasn't flat.
But you know about maps of the ancient sea kings? The old maps Graham Hancock talks about? There's something in that. There's something in that, I tell you. And so
that's wild.
Yeah, it is wild. And the more the more I look, the more it blows my mind. But yeah, it's too much to take in one go.
All right. Well, we're gonna leave this one for next time as well. But Hugh, this was awesome, man. Thank you so much for doing this. Great job with HDMI too. That was very helpful. Going through this, we would have been in hell trying to figure out which slide was which, but awesome stuff. We'll collab this so people can subscribe to Megalithomania UK down right below where this video is. It's right there. Highly recommend. The content's great. And until next time, sir.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Of course. Everyone else, you know what it is. Give it a thought. Get back to me. Peace. Thank you guys for watching the episode. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and smash that like button on the video. They're both a huge, huge help. And if you would like to follow me on Instagram and X, those links are in my description below.